Welcome to the Spiritual Underground Podcast. Once again, this is Dan coming to you from the studios of DTM Enterprises, my little workshop, my wood shop in the backyard. Today, we're going to be talking about, we have Christopher in the studio again, and we're going to continue to talk about this TSSR, this 12-step spiritual recovery movement that's going on. Today in Louisville, Kentucky is Thunder over Louisville, and so we'll add a little of our extra thunder into this Thunder Day. It actually kicks off the Kentucky Derby Festival season, this fireworks show that happens tonight, and perhaps today you will hear in the background fighter jets and other aircraft as they fly around, and they do a air show today prior to the big firework kickoff that happens tonight once it gets dark. So if you hear any of that in the background, that's what that is. So we'll have our own, put another T on the front of it. TTSR, Thunder 12-Step Spiritual Recovery. How are you doing, Christopher?
I'm doing great. That sounds awesome.
I've been hearing the jets come over yesterday. They, right here on the other side, and we started on the chat. We were talking, and those guys were hearing it on that side of the river, and I was hearing it on this one. Heck, they're right above us. Those I saw a couple of those. They were something, one of them I don't know what they are, F-16 or some kind of something rocketing across the sky yesterday. Yeah, it's what somebody said. Man, the machines of war are amazing, aren't they?
People don't understand, and there's debate about this, because everybody wants to claim the bragging rights, but this apparently is the largest fireworks show in North America every year. And then we have guests who come into town who are very skeptical and say, yeah, right. And then when they see that finale, they're just like, whoa. Yeah,
we had that, the Clark Bridge, the 2nd Street Bridge, and they put fireworks all the way across to basically blow it up. And it rains down a waterfall of fireworks pouring down off of it. Into the Ohio River, and it is amazing. And I saw today too, or yesterday, I don't remember, somebody earlier in the week, it doesn't really matter, but it said it was started in 1989, so this is the 30th year.
Yeah, a long time ago.
I remember when and it's still at some level feels like a new thing.
We know how to party here in Louisville, and people, when I traveled the country, would say, Kentucky, what do y'all do down there? Like, walk around your bare feet and. No, Louisville actually knows how to party. If you've never been to the Derby, it's basically Mardi Gras shoved into a very short time period.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, absolutely. It is, and that's and once you say, they may not know, they don't think of it maybe immediately. Mm-hmm. Some of them do, but instantly people usually go, "Oh, Derby! Oh, yeah, that's right."
And here's my connection. My grandfather was the president of Churchill Downs Racetrack from 1960 to 70 till he passed away. And that's a lineage in my family that, Derby is big in my family. A lot of history. I've
never been to the Derby.
His claim to fame, he did a lot of renovations on the track and all that, but his claim to fame, and to this day, he's the only president of Churchill Downs who's had a sitting president of the United States attend the Derby.
Oh, really?
And so, Nixon came to the Derby in 68 or so, I think it was. Huh. And there's a picture I've got of my grandfather with my grandmother sitting in a box with Nixon and with Pat Nixon, his wife, and the governor of the state. And it's
very
kind of
cool.
A neat deal.
Yeah, that is cool. Well, there's something else afoot.
TSSR.
In Louisville.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So what have we, and I've kind of lost track. I had to look at a calendar for a minute to figure.
I think we had our fourth meeting last Thursday.
Meeting was the fourth meeting, yeah. And the first one was really just the informational kind of thing when people were kind of getting their feet wet, and a lot of people showed up to just see what it was about. And now it's starting to form into a meeting where it's starting to gel, and people are showing up for the reason why it's there, is to help people get this 12-step philosophies in their these principles and tools in their life. And then of course we've got, I really don't know what the percentage is. I almost feel like I should do that, but I don't. I leave it alone. We have a certain number of people who are current 12-steppers coming that want to either grow more. They're taking advantage of the opportunity to serve by helping and being a person to carry the message in there, so that if it was completely new people, right, who would be carrying the message. So we do need that blend of both, and we need people to be available to sponsor people into this because current 12-steppers know that lingo, know the
Right.
process. So, yeah, it's really
So
really
here's
coming
what's really
around
cool
good.
to me about our meeting so far is, I thought it'd be a little bit of a herky-jerky experience trying to get people who aren't familiar with recovery to open up and really share on an honest, heartfelt level. And so, I was hoping, we'll pick topics that are fairly universal that they can relate to and easily talk about. And, I think the second or third meeting, the topic was fear. And then the topic last week was forgiveness.
Right.
And I'm sitting here going, and the level of sharing by everyone, not just people in recovery, really tells me that people are thinking about these issues deeply already. They're already in conflict. They're already wondering what the hell is going on with this damn world and with their lives here and what does my existence stand for. And man, the deep level of sharing is, I would say, paralleled, if not surpassing, our own home group, Spiritual Underground at times. But at the same time, it's hard to say better, Every meeting has its good things to it, but there's some meetings that just knock your socks off with the level of sharing that's so straightforward and from the heart that you come out feeling like you've been altered. Your energy has been changed. And so it's very exciting to get here to see this.
Yeah, you said something that triggered me a little bit, where you said these certain people are in recovery. Well, we've actually now we've opened that up. All those people are in recovery, right? We kind of drawn
get that silver chip, right?
Yeah. And they're coming and they're seeking, and that's one of the thing that's the thing that I see is that there's these souls in there that know there's something more. Mm-hmm. There's something better than what they're dealing with right now, right? And that's what they're showing up, and that's what they're opening up to. They're going, hell, what is it? Help me. Help me understand what this is.
Which is the core of all the problems in the world, I believe, is that nobody's fucking teaching these people. Oh, can we cuss on this here?
Yeah,
podcast?
we can fucking cuss on
that's
this.
great. Now we can just be honest and be ourselves. That's another form
just
of
for the
control.
record, the podcasts have a thing where you have to actually label them. So if
I
they're
saw
explicit,
that. No, I saw that on iTunes, explicit
to,
lyrics.
Yeah, you have to, and I do. You want to be honest. You don't want somebody stepping into something they're not.
No, not a child or anything like that. It would be inappropriate. But I do feel at times that that's another form of control they're laying on us.
Yeah.
We all know that every politician in Washington cusses in their office every damn day.
Yeah.
There's evidence. We have recordings of them saying the F word, right? And then when they get out and they accidentally say it in public,
yeah,
they crucify them.
Yeah.
At this double standard we have that,
and also the two-facedness of it. Here's what I'm going to present,
critical.
and here's who I am. Well, there's something. There's a fundamental flaw in that if you're going to present this to me, but this is really who you are. You're not giving me who you are. You're bullshitting me from the get-go.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the beautiful things about recovery is that you can be yourself.
It is finding your own true self.
All that facade and the costume that we put on every day as we're walking around in our jobs and on public at the mall or wherever, that's not who we are.
Yeah.
Then we come home, we close the door, and oh, good, I can be myself for a few hours.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. But the meetings are going great. For those of you who are brand new to this deal, just short story. Take a minute here. I was about 18 years sober, and I had some teachers come into my life who had a level of recovery that I could not fathom was possible. And they shared with me the wisdom that had been passed on to them, that, as you say, we've got this tribal knowledge. It's not really in our big blue book. It's not something that was the thing that bugged me. Why is this not written down? Doing the steps in the way that I was taught by these teachers, just by adding to, as you say, it's still the fundamental 12-step way we do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there's all these little tips and tricks.
And many people are out there doing it this way today.
Oh my God! And a lot of people are doing it really screwed up.
Yeah, there is too. But there's also, there's people who are following the general that are taking it. They're doing the add to that's not in the blue book. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it's nowhere. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is you get. Of course, I'm a believer that the 12 steps works no matter. It provides a relief no matter how bad you do them.
Absolutely.
But there. Why? Well, what we say, why show up to the juice faucet with just a thimble?
Yeah. Why would you only want that much?
Yeah. Come with a big bucket and be willing to get as much as you can
and
get.
And that's what I would call it. To me, it's like full recovery, being able to go back and really heal all of that stuff. I'll get people in my group, and they're the old dogs. I call some of them the dinosaurs. I'm getting to be a dinosaur, but I will never be a dinosaur in my mentality. Yeah. I'm always going to be a rebel.
Spirit, for sure.
Searching for that next new thing to make it better. And Bill Wilson was that way in his lifetime. And man, did he take a lot of heat for being that kind of a seeking spirit. And without him, and him pushing through his agenda, and I know we're on a side note here, but we wouldn't have the big book.
Yeah, right.
People did not want the big book, nor did they want the traditions. And if you read the history of AA, he did a little runaround at the convention in 1955 to actually get them voted in, because there was a big block of people that weren't going to let that happen. And he did some little trick of the procedures of the way it was going down that it got voted in. So, which has been our survival since, But that's just human nature. People are afraid of change. And so I'm 18 years sober, and I've done these steps this way, and I'm getting this juice. I'm getting this level of happy, joyous, and free that I was like, holy crap, why did I waste 18 years in sobriety? Well, I didn't have a teacher. I didn't have a teacher that knew how to do that. My sponsors prior to that could only give me what they knew, what they had been taught. So I was obsessed by this idea that this needs to be written down. I need to share this with all my brothers and sisters. And so I started this effort of this 6-year odyssey of writing this book. And as I'm writing it, higher power is squawking at me hard. He's saying, no, you need to write this for everybody, not just for people in recovery already. This needs to be finally opened up for everyone. Not on my agenda. People need to understand that when they look at this book and say, oh my God, it's so big. It's like, guys, this was not my plan. If I could have written a shorter book, don't you think that would have been easier on me?
Yeah.
I'd be done in half the time. Why not? But as I'm getting this inspiration, and it's saying you got to open up to other people, there was this thing, well, I can write 12 Step for Dummies. And there are a ton. You go on Amazon, there are a ton of watered down,
I had no idea.
crappy, half measures, step approaches out there, already in print. And I was like, no, I need to put this deal. There's no reason these people coming in fresh can't do it on the level that I did it at 18 years sobriety, because it's simple tools. They're still simple approaches, but it's that, like I say, those tips and tricks. I just didn't want to screw that up. I wanted to give them the full deal solution, right? To verify that, you and then all your sponsees and the people we're seeing come in with, heavy-duty addiction issues, especially nowadays with heroin and everything else going on out there, they're doing the steps this way. And in 4 months to 6 months' time, they're showing a level of recovery that they go into other meetings and people are like, I thought you were sober 10 years. Yeah. And I know you've heard that yourself several times. So to me, that's that evidence of, okay, so they can get that deeper level of recovery. And then after that, higher power's like, well, you're going to have to start meetings. You can't just put a book out and let it languish out there. You gotta take this on. You need to walk this path, pal. Yeah. And I've gotten to a place in my recovery. I'm going to be 35 years sober within a couple of weeks here. Juice. I can't even fathom that idea. Right. Yeah. I mean, anybody out there in podcast land that is sober that long, I know you sit there and go, what? How is that even possible that I'm sober that long? I couldn't even imagine 35 days, let alone 35 years. And it said, you're going to have to take that. Somebody has to take the lead. I heard your podcast on Darren's or whatever it was where you were talking about there has to be a leader in all endeavors. Not necessarily someone who's in charge, but somebody who's going to take it on themselves to be the guy that shows up.
Yeah.
Right? After our first meeting, we had a big crowd that first night. And then people drop off. That happens in every endeavor of life. You can watch that. It's like everybody's all gung-ho. Yeah, let's do this. It's going to be great. And then where'd they go? Oh, my God, where'd they go? Yeah. Just like you had in your story, talk about this podcast. Yeah. That's what you brought that up. Somebody has to take the lead.
Yeah, a lot of, let's do it in the beginning. A lot of startup power, but stay in power is another thing.
It's hard. It's hard to be that guy that's going to okay.
And it's hard to sit on this side.
Take a shower, get your clothes on, get to the DME, and make sure the lights are on. Somebody has to take the lead.
So when you were talking, and I heard as I was with you throughout, the writing and the discouragement that the self-talk you did to yourself about, this is all a waste of time, and what am I doing, and this is, and trying to almost, whatever that is.
Who
that
do you think you are was the big demon. You think you're going to write a big book? In fact, one of my sponsees, I won't say which one, but if they listen to this, they'll know who they are, said that, I see you've written this big book here. Bill wrote it in 164 pages. I said, Bill doesn't have the details that we learned from the past 83 years. He was just starting out. Of course, it's only 164 pages.
So those thoughts echo right into me as I started up this podcast, and and especially once I kind of took it under my own wing, and I said, okay, I'm gonna grab up this equipment. I'm actually going to try to do this thing on my end, not knowing how and whatnot. And
that's totally new.
Will
for
anybody
you, right?
listen to it? And the self-talk, who do you think you are broadcasting this? Who wants to listen to you? But having the teacher that I had, I can be aware of that today. We were in a yoga thing last night where the gal, she had one of these little simple things that I latched on real quick. She said, when you're laying here in your practice today and you're beginning to tell yourself you can't stay in a pose any longer, or you can't, or your mind starts slipping in and challenging you and that kind of thing, say, I see you, mm-hmm. I release you. Mm-hmm. And that I like that I can be aware to see that self-talk for what it is today and go, I'm not playing with you today.
So many people are living that way, Dan. They want to do something. They have an inspiration to pursue a certain path. And that voice comes immediately and says, who do you think you are? What will people say?
That'll never work.
What will people say or think about? And, you're going to fail. So why even bother, especially for alcoholics and addicts?
How are you going to make your house payment? How are you going to,
mm-hmm.
how are you going to, what about insurance? All the little
these
things
tools that we have in our program to defeat that, I used in writing this book, one day at a time. I know you saw me working that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm on this page today. I just worked a full day at work, and now I got to come home and write this spiritual book. One day at a time, suit up and show up. I'd get my coffee pot going. I'd get the computer booted up and the music and incense going, and do it. You push through, right? And you can accomplish miracles with this program. You really can. If you all have not done that yet out there in recovery, it's possible. But
I got a big smile on my face. My daughter's dog has been let out of the house. I think my dad did it, and he stood in the dog. He don't understand. Look in the window. Why he don't get to come in? Turn around. Look.
You gotta take a picture of that. Take a picture of that to show the people. It's just extraordinary. I'll get out of the way here.
You can't see him.
Can you see him?
Barely. Too much exposure from the window. And
animals get it, man. They don't have all that programming and baggage that we do. So, just to finish up the story. So to have meetings going, higher power saying we got to get the word out. Thank God for you. You are my frontline soldier. Shane, Jesse, and Alex have been extremely supportive. Darren, my sponsor, Darren, don't want to forget him. Without all of their help, this is not an individual effort. This is always a group effort in recovery, right? We don't take the accolades and say, I did this. It's always the result of the group and everything. But then higher power's like, well, you start these meetings, we got to get the word out. So we have a website is 12stepspiritualrecovery.com. It's a work in progress. I had never done a website before in my life. Neither have I listed a book for publishing on Amazon. If you've ever done that before, good luck to you out there. That's all I'm saying. You might want to hire a professional. It is a crazy involved process.
Yeah. Hey,
and that was almost as hard as writing the book, to be honest with you. And so that's where we stand. And now we got the meetings going, and Shane has a meeting spot set up for May at the new Token 3 Club. They're going to move into a new location here in Louisville. The more exciting thing is we got our first contact in the email this past week from somebody completely out of the blue, which is, we hope, the way this movement goes. This is a grassroots movement, just the way AA started. Right, the only difference today is we have technology.
Yeah.
So we have podcasts, we have a way to get the word out, right? YouTube, whatever. But this gentleman named Roger in Northern California contacted me and said he had seen your podcast or heard your podcast on Spotify, just randomly, was interested in the name, just clicked on it, and has gotten the book. He's very excited. He's got 39 years sobriety, very excited to see what's up. And this is open to anybody out there. So this is my call for anybody out there that is inspired to do some additional service work. I will say this, and I'll shut up and we'll move on to other topics, but we have sat around for 83 years saying, gee, I wish my family and friends had this program. I wish the whole world, as I'm watching my TV, had the 12 steps. I don't think we'd be in the fix we are in today if everybody out there did the 12 steps, right?
Yeah.
But what I love is your story of going to your meeting and telling the guys about, hey, how we've always sat around saying we wish we could share this program with everybody, and everybody's like, yeah, and they're all looking you in the eye, and then the meeting say, well, guess what? We started a meeting, and they all look at the ground.
Yep.
They all just look at the ground. Nope, not going to do it. What is that?
It's almost like a protective thing. Like, I don't want to share it. There's some kind of little bit of weird energy there of like, and I do that little threat, posture right? thing when I got people looking at me. I like hold it behind my back, like I'm holding the 12 steps behind my back, going, "Yeah, I wish everybody had this."
I got mine. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Don't touch it. Thank God Bill Wilson didn't feel that way.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, truly, that is a higher power-inspired deal that Bill Wilson realized this was for all of humanity. He could have said, no, we're not going to start or help start NA, Narcotics Anonymous. We're not going to help offer it to Al-Anon or offer it to Overeaters Anonymous. And they could have done that. They could have said, this is ours, right?
Yeah, trademarked.
Yep. Hey, there you go, America. Copyright this deal. Make some money on it. And it would have ruined the whole thing. So here we are in the year 2019. Our world is going down, folks. We're going to talk a lot about that during this podcast. I can't believe we're still pretending that things are fine after all the evidence to the contrary. What do you want, a short list? The freaking, the ice caps, the icebergs, all the ice shelves are all melting. The coral is all bleached in the ocean. Plastic is taking over our oceans. Extinction of species, the honeybees, et cetera, et cetera. You name it. We've got some serious problems where our children and our grandchildren are not going to have a world to live on. And we're all walking around today like everything's normal, nothing to see here. I mean, I heard a statistic last night, there were 2 billion people on the planet in the year 1900. There's now 8 billion people. It's unsustainable. Somebody said, I thought they were saying something like there's 1 million more people on the planet every 4 days.
Yeah.
Every 4 days.
Wow.
How can this little world, this little sphere of blue,
sustain
that?
We'll outgrow
with its limited resources. Yeah. So we're all saying, well, I know all that. Let me just see what's on Netflix tonight.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yep. And have my beer or my wine or whatever it is that I need to turn, my pizza.
I'm telling you, I'm running into that one a lot. The people that say, I don't do drugs.
Yeah.
And then you look at them and they're like 300 pounds or something.
Right.
And you're like, you kind of do drugs, man, because there is a link to dopamine release to sugary and fatty foods.
Take the mic for a minute. Continue to talk for a minute so that they've let Bruno, my daughter's dog, out, and he's scratching at the door. So you got to, free will and take it for a minute, and I will be right back.
That's why this is a genuine podcast, folks, because we got a dog that's on the loose, and our beloved podcast host is going to go take care of the situation. The dog's name is Bruno. He's absolutely adorable. I probably wouldn't want to be alone with him because he would probably take me down. Doesn't know me. I'm a stranger. But as I was saying, we all recognize there are things going on in our world that are unsustainable, and it's getting worse, right? That's something you hear from people. Rarely do you pull up on a person on a street corner and say, how do you think it's going? Are they going to say, oh, it's great, everything's getting better? Most people say, no, I think things are getting worse. And the problem is everybody is looking for a fix in the material plane. Maybe our politicians will fix it. Maybe the scientists will fix it. It's all, on the material plane. And people aren't being taught that it's probably going to have to be a spiritual solution, just like the alcoholic. The alcoholic tries all kinds of material solutions before they actually go to treatment or go to Alcoholics Anonymous and begin to learn that the basis of their illness is spiritual. But they'll try moving to another town. They'll try getting a new girlfriend, maybe a new job that'll fix it.
They never even missed me.
All right, Dan is back in the room.
They never even missed me.
So I know. It's like we don't have a camera on us. They don't know you left. So to catch you up, we're talking about how people are trying to find solutions on the material plane. And just like an alcoholic who does that, maybe I'll go move here and get a new job and get a new relationship. That'll fix my problem inside of me. And no, it can't. What we've learned in recovery is it has to be a spiritual solution. And of course, when you say that, immediately people think about church,
right,
and about their particular faith they were brought up in. And that is not recovery spirituality. Recovery spirituality is your own conception and trying to get in touch with that. And to get in touch with that, I've got to strip away all these things that I've been programmed with that are keeping me blocked from feeling that there's anything there. So... But that's what we're trying to do. We'd like to spread this solution to the rest of the world, and we're hoping that anybody out there that wants to jump on board, all you got to do is have a place to meet.
Yeah, right.
A couple of friends that want to get together. Maybe get a buddy in recovery that says, hey, I'm inspired by that. Let's get a coffee pot.
Yeah.
Let's tell people that there's something available. And especially for the wives, right? In our group, that's been a big one, is they've been watching their husbands get well. and they're getting jealous.
Yeah,
right?
they want some of that.
I want some of that. I mean, how do you change my husband from being a complete? We were talking about Chase's story the other day. I happened to listen to that as well. Great story, Chase, by the way. It was very inspiring. The guy without the shirt on in the gutter, right?
Yep.
To a guy that his wife wants to have another child with.
Right. Yep.
That's revolutionary.
Sure is. Yeah.
And that form of change, folks, is available to anybody out there. That's just not available for alcoholics. You won't even recognize yourself after you do these steps and the way you want to go with your life's path, because it'll be more true to your true self.
Yep. She was walking out the door,
mm-hmm.
and their whole dynamic, their whole family dynamic has changed.
Most
even through
alcoholic
the
families,
parents.
there are
and
people
like
out there
this.
who are listening who are suffering, and most alcoholic families, they got one foot out the door. I can't live like this anymore. It's taking me down. I refuse to die.
Yeah, and what's really, that I like to say this other term, switch it around, a collateral benefit rather than the collateral damage that we create.
That's an awesome term. I like that.
The collateral benefit is that like people's parents and other people, along in the perimeter are also having their life impacted in positive ways because of our recovery.
Hey, I'll give you one impact. I show up for family events.
Right, yeah.
Didn't do that when I was using, or if I did, I showed up and I became the center of attention. Oh, that guy, he's drunk, ruining it for me and the kids and the family and everybody else.
Yeah.
We make a huge impact showing up for our job.
Yeah.
Doing the right thing.
Right. Yeah. I like that collateral benefit that comes with some of this stuff that's not really, it'd be great if it wasn't happening. Mm-hmm. But also the fact that it does is really, really, really cool. That you talking about that difference between the misconception and when we use that term spiritual, and I like to come back to this thing where most people are going to agree that we have some kind of spirit, soul, essence, some kind of inner being in us that is of us, that is a core. And you almost talk to anybody and they will know that they have something in there, that consciousness, yeah. And so I can get people onto that plane, right, and like separate them from because they instantly want to go to the organized religions of the world, what they know when you say spirituality. So when I talk about that spirit, that level of spirit, that consciousness, that inner being, then we can kind of like knock that wall down a little bit and talk about it being sickened, it's been poisoned, it's been bad stuff has been being poured into it since you were a little kid, and that's what this process is doing, is to be able to go in and sort out and to clean up. I don't really like to. It is like a human washing machine where you get to come in here and instead of just like ignoring this stuff and telling myself that it doesn't bother me and just shoving it down and shoving it down and shoving it down, I get some concrete tools in order to deal with these things so that I can get my real spirit, just like the book says on the cover, the subtitle, so that I can reclaim my original self, my original soul.
Let's back up a little bit for people who aren't familiar with the analogy that I think works best for people to grasp it is to find that picture of yourself. And I heard you talking about that on one of your podcasts, and you can see where the change happened in your eyes. And that's what you have to do. I get so many of my patients, and of course they're defeated by addiction, so they're very cynical. And some of them, majority, surprisingly, will say, well, I was never happy. There's no picture of me that shows. I mean, bullshit.
Yeah.
That's fucking bullshit. There is a picture of no child comes out of the womb and says, fuck everybody. Yep. Politics, they're not trained yet. They don't have any of that garbage, and they especially don't have any of that garbage about God. If you have any young
children, to go back and look for that.
But hold up a second. If you have any young children in your life, ask them that question. What do you think about God? And if they've not been polluted yet, there is nothing but positive shit that comes out of their mouth. They won't talk about original sin. They won't talk about any of the dogma of heaven or hell. Hell, they don't even know the word hell till you teach it to them.
Right.
And mankind has ruined God. The idea or the concept has ruined it in our little crazy concepts. So that has to be challenged. And so to reclaim your original self-soul within the steps, doing inventory, having an objective sponsor, making your amends, cleaning up your past. All that stuff serves to completely clean out this vessel of programming that you've had poured into you. And the thing I run into is the ego is so strong, even in people who don't have addiction, right? We all say alcoholics won't change. Neither will people.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm having so many people who are like, well, I just don't think I'm like that, and there you go. That's your ego telling you, I don't think I'm like that.
Because it's the same thing I did with my alcoholism. I said I didn't think I had a problem.
My version of programming is correct. to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And changing that paradigm is threatening, right? Because a human being like, whoa, no, don't be telling me the Earth is flat,
Yeah.
or circular, or vice versa, because you're challenging my paradigm. That makes me very uneasy as a human being.
And I think
But
that's
think
why
about programming like this, man. In the 1950s, they're pumping out all this advertising that cigarette smoking helps pregnant women. They did. They sold cigarettes to pregnant women, telling them this will help you be calm and to relax as you're carrying your child.
Huh.
Now, that's fucked up programming. And guess what? They got pregnant women to smoke.
Yeah.
But that's just one example. Today I don't take any, I've been able to shed this self-recrimination for being what God made me to be. I am an alcoholic. I was born to be that way. That's scientifically proven for all you idiots out there that aren't willing to read something or learn something. We're living in the year 2019. Insurance would not pay for this if this was not a medical illness. Get over yourself. I just don't believe it's a disease. Yeah, you're an ignorant. And I'm not going to listen to you. If I have cancer, I'm not going to you for treatment, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I've been born this way, and I'm walking this path, and I've got this programming. Ever since I was a kid, man, I've seen how many commercials for beer? Give me a freaking break. And they're saying, but don't touch it. Not till you're 18 or 21, depending on where you live. And especially if you're this religion, don't use it at all. But if you're this religion, you can do it. But, if you do it, keep it secret. And this is what a man does. Oh, a man does. A man drinks beer. Okay, I drink beer. All that fucking, and that's just one area of programming, right?
Yep.
When you really get into the depth of your inventory, you're going to see everybody owns me out there. I'm not even sure I've had an original thought. I don't even know who I really am. How many times do we hear that from our sponsees?
Yep.
I don't know what I feel. I don't know how to feel. And so what we do is we start prying those layers of the onion back, is to use that treatment term, right? And underneath there, believe it or not, unless it's been killed entirely, that original self-soul, that child is waiting for you to come back and save it. It is dying and waiting for you. Nobody else in this world is going to do it for you. They're just going to give you more programming. Drink Coke. Drink Pepsi.
Yeah.
Swear to God, that's all they're going to do to you. And unless it's been killed, and the only people, and I don't know if I want to say killed entirely, but if you go and speak inside a prison, or you've talked to anybody who's been in prison a long time and they got those dark shark eyes, they're dead. And they're just looking at you like they just as soon cut you than whatever. There is a point where the programming takes hold and we lose people. People with advanced addiction, and you can't reach them on a moral or values level. Like you're breaking your values. They're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's real, dog. That's real, dog. Yeah. I hear that shit in my group all the time. I'm like, real? Okay, so the guy living on a tropical island eating off the land doesn't know anything. Well, that's not real? Oh, but your hood is real. The hood's real, dude.
Yeah.
I hear that shit every day.
More programming. That's all
it's
you know.
It's just programming, exactly. And so those are people who've been swept so much into it, they don't know anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that.
That's their reality.
I don't know where that, I hate to actually put it like I almost would put a hopeless label on certain people. And man, I really.
In my profession, I'm a counselor. I understand. It's hard.
I have a hard time, I think, but fact is, I guess the term that I've heard is my spirit got stepped on, and once your spirit's been ground into the earth so far to try to resolve that and come back
trauma and abuse into that equation, man, that spirit has been stomped, not stepped on, stomped, almost squashed.
Ground into the earth.
Existence. If you don't believe that, folks, try and bring up the idea of a God to somebody who's been sexually abused as a child.
Yeah. Especially by somebody who's in religion.
Or anybody who actually has been to war. I love Bill Wilson, the way he describes it in the first chapter of the big book, the grim jest of the devil. And how could there be a God with man's inhumanity to man and the wars and all that, the chicanery. I love that word. I'm telling you, Bill put some profound crap in that blue book there, and he wasn't a writer. It's astounding what he was able to put down on paper. Yeah. And it was very honest. In the 30s, to really come out and challenge the idea that, where's God and all that, you couldn't really say that in public in the 1930s.
Yeah. And he did it in a very straightforward and succinct manner, too. It's just pow, there it is. And there's still a lot of powerful verses and things in there that I carry with me in my toolkit daily.
Daily. We quote them daily.
Yeah.
So, to wrap up our little summary on the TSSR, I'm not trying to force anything that's not meant to happen. I make that clear in the book. I'm just trying to do my higher power's will, and I'm trying to offer this to as many people who want it. If you don't want it, we're not trying to force it on you. I had a conversation with somebody recently where they kept saying, I just don't think I'm unmanageable. And I could actually point to 5 things off the top of my head in their life that they made choices that you have to go, if you're not unmanageable, why the fuck did you do this, right? But they don't see it. And so it was almost as if they wanted me to convince them that they're, and that's not how our program works. You have to want it.
Yeah.
You have to want change. You have to decide that enough is enough. Living in this crazy ass world, eating this crappy ass food they're pushing on me.
I really even had a hard time even calling some of the stuff food, because now I know it's not. It's not really food. It's a mixture of chemicals and things.
And let me tell you about programming, and I'm a victim as much as anybody. And writing this book has really opened my eyes to my own behaviors, right? I mean, we all live in our own little bubble of, well, that's just what I do. It's okay. And it is okay. It's okay to be human. It's okay to make mistakes. Please don't misunderstand my words. To the day I die, I'm going to be flawed. So don't anybody try to put me on pedestals like, well, you said do this, but don't do it. No, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'll probably
still do this, and then look at you.
I'll probably still eat some Doritos every now and then. So get off my damn back. I'm never going to be perfect, right? But as I buy that shit now, and I'm looking down in my cart when I get to the checkout, because I'll go into the store intent, buy only good foods, right? Healthy, whole foods, right?
Yeah.
And I come out with that garbage, that processed garbage. And I'm like, that's my programming.
Yeah.
I have been trained on that high fat, high salt, high sugar fucking food, and my dopamine brain needs it.
Yep.
So that at the end of the night, right, after I finish my good food, I got to have that little treat to set off that little dopamine so I can sit back in my chair, watch my TV, and go, oh, okay. All right, there's my fucking fix. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every human being's like that in our culture, especially in America.
Yep.
You know, the French, totally different if I had raised in that culture, because everything's fresh, right? You go down to a local market, you're buying everything new that day to make for dinner that night. That's actually the healthiest way to freaking live. There's a new series, and not to promote anything, but it's interesting. I want to check it out. They're starting tonight, called Chasing Life, with Dr. Sanjay Gupta on CNN. And each week he's going to a different country and a different land to find out longevity. What do people do? What's causing them not to live long, and what's causing them to live long? And the first place he's going to is Japan. Apparently, it's the most stressed culture on the planet. Yeah. Because of this work. And they actually have a phrase for it. I can't remember what the term was.
And they're packed in.
The term, they actually have a term for somebody who works themselves to death. It's a medical term.
Really?
No shit. Yeah. I'm not even lying to you.
I can see a lot of the exact same things of why I do the work so hard is exactly the same as some of my spiritual sickness. I can parallel that exactly. You know, like you said, when people go unmanageability, you know, just look at how much of your life you're selling to that place. You know,
hours.
That can, you know, that's an unmanageability in itself. But you know, it looks like manageability. Like I'm a productive citizen. I'm doing my role in life here by working my ass into the ground.
I'm being
harder you work, the more value you are.
I'm being a provider. It's what I'm supposed to do as a man, especially. Yeah. But here's the problem: when something interrupts that and wakes us up, let's say the economy tanks, and suddenly you find yourself canned. I was reading a story about a software gaming outfit, developer studio, and literally they went to work that day and they came in and said, we're closing the doors. You got 30 minutes to get all your shit, get out the door. Yeah. No warning, no severance package. In fact, they're trying to sue back for that. And what do you do then when your job is your identity and you realize, well, hold up. I've actually got this mortal existence, this short amount. I call it a very brief walk.
It really is.
This planet.
No doubt.
Before anybody that's older, you blink and you're 50, 60, and you're like, holy, what was my life about?
Right.
And actually, let's turn it into a positive for a second. I think that's our greatest salvation, is being mortal. The fact that we're staring down the barrel, the fact that we're going to die one day, is our one thing to make us get busy. To what is my life going to stand for? What kind of impact did I make on this planet? Was I just a consumer that bought a bunch of shit, and yet I had some nice cars and a pretty girlfriend? But what did I accomplish? What did I do with my time here? But the problem with this program,
really hard.
I worked really hard. I got a pension.
Maybe.
And I'm telling you, I won't say what company it is, but I deal with a lot of patients who work for a particular company, and they're selling their life out for that 30-year pension. And they're miserable as all get out. Yeah. And they've got physical ailments from their job that are devastating for the rest of their life. They're crippled almost.
And the clock could end at 28.
Well, we've actually seen with some of our patients, they could get drunk and get into trouble, and then they don't get their retirement package.
They're looking for reasons to not give that to you.
time.
There's somebody out there in those places that their job is to
or
try.
Nowadays, with the state saying we can't afford to pay the teachers' retirement and shit like that. Hello, welcome to reality.
Yeah.
They just sold you a false bill of goods, man. Be our slave for 30 damn years, and we'll take care of you. And then you find out what? Where's the fine print?
Sorry, that's just not in the budget anymore.
We just don't have the money. So recovery is such a gift. It is, and I wish the entire planet could have it. It causes you to stop, reflect, take some time to really reflect. Don't just take an afternoon. Go through this process. Go through the car wash to reflect, so that you can reevaluate. Reevaluate, where am I going from here?
Yeah.
And the only time you really get that opportunity in life otherwise is when a crisis happens.
A crisis hits you.
Yeah, if you're sitting in a hospital bed and you're like, oh, crap, they're telling me I'm going to die if I don't change my ways.
Or your career gets swept out from underneath of you, or you sometimes lose
natural
loved
disaster
ones or something.
You
know,
see it
a
all the time
child
with natural
passes
disasters.
away.
People live through a hurricane, and then they're like,
lose everything.
I'm going to move and be a woodworker in Colorado. I'm tired of living this
They're forced into a reset.
lifestyle.
Yeah, and this can give you a reset. This gives you a reset where you can come back and reevaluate.
I want to preface this. I want to be on the record for the rest of my life. So here it is on freaking tape. It's tape that shows you how old I am. I love my country. America is the greatest fucking country in the goddamn world. Thank you for me being born in America, God. I appreciate it. However, we are in the sickest motherfucking land. We have turned so sick over the years because of corporations and systems and institutions, is what I call it in my book, that have just taken over. They have way too much power over us, too much influence. And now people don't even think about it. They just adopt it. Staring into our phones all day long, into our computers, and that is not normal. And we've adopted it and say, oh, yeah, okay, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. And no boundaries, no ability to turn it off, That's what this program does. It makes you stop and say, why am I doing this behavior? You did this, you talked about in your podcast with your tobacco use. Yeah. As you're trying to talk to somebody in sobriety, you've got that big chew in your mouth. Yeah. This program made you look at that and reevaluate. Yeah,
that's what rocked me that day. How it happened that day, who knows? But it did. That's I went like it did. It's like bells going off. All of a sudden, because I lost that guy for a minute.
Like a light switch, right? Yeah, you suddenly see something that you had been blind to for all this time.
So I'm sitting here with that guy, and all of a sudden I'm not anymore, because my head just goes completely someplace else, and I'm going, hold on a minute. Hold on a fucking minute.
Almost as if you can step out of your own skin and see yourself for what you're doing. Right?
I remember the phrase. I remember telling the guy that, about, and I can't say exactly, but I was saying, I was talking about improving the quality of your life in recovery.
And then your truth got shoved right back at you. Here's a mirror, buddy.
Yeah, and I grabbed my spit cup because I couldn't talk anymore without spitting. And let me go on.
We don't see ourselves. We don't see our own behaviors. Yeah. We're insane, but we don't think so. And what a miracle that little choice is. You're going to have your fucking teeth and your jaw till the day you die.
Right, yeah.
If you've ever seen any of those pictures.
Oh, I have.
My God, they're horrible.
Actually drove, the fact that day may put me on that little journey because I decided that and I didn't know how to do it, and my mouth started hurting really bad like 3 days after stopping. And I Googled it thinking that the cancer had already got me, that it was too late.
Scary.
And I Googled sore mouth, quit dipping, and popped up a website of people who were quitting doing this we thing, the same way we do this, that we join together in accountability, and we do this together. They didn't have the tools, the 12-step tools in their thing, but they were using everything but that, and it was allowing people to quit. And one of the things was showing those gruesome pictures, and they had people's stories attached. While they were still alive, people who lost the battle, because just because I quit don't mean I'm out of the woods either.
Right.
And you see these stories, and those pictures will certainly rock you when you see people's complete jaws removed.
I do want to address that, though, because that's a pushback we get sometimes from newcomers and other people is, well, what's the use? I've already gone so far.
Too late.
The cancer's already set in. That is not true.
Yeah.
Not from what we've seen. And I know you've had your own experiences with this, so I don't sound so crazy to people out there. and anybody else out there in recovery, the miracles we see in the rooms of
Absolutely.
people who say, well, my family can never get back together. I can never make peace on this issue, or I can never make it right. I have to go to prison for 10 years. I can hear your story. This just has to be. And we go, no. Once you get this higher power stuff in your life,
The rules are out the
anything is
window.
literally possible.
Yeah.
Anything is literally
All
possible.
those rules you were making up.
I remember this guy, and he's going to be in my memory for forever. He was in our old men's home group, and he was diagnosed with lung cancer. And when I met him, he had already been 9 years into having been diagnosed with lung cancer, and they told him when he was diagnosed he had 6 months. And every time I'd see him at the meeting, man, some days he would come in a little bit faster, sometimes a little bit slower because he was doing chemo and all kinds of different stuff. And but his attitude, man, every time was like, "Oh, I'm just happy to be here," you know. And he was helping others, participating in the meeting. Frank was his name, being an example to all of us, right? And I think he lasted 17 years after they told him 6 months. And so doctors don't know anything. They're just human beings. And whenever somebody makes a sweeping proclamation like that, you're always going to suffer from this disease, I say, yeah, come in our room, do this work, these 12 steps.
And then see what happens.
And, you know, this is dangerous territory, right? Because we're always told the primary purpose, you know, we don't claim we can do all this stuff. This is one of my actually biggest hot buttons for my newcomers, right? And for those who don't know, I'm writing a CD, Chemical Dependency Group, every day. And it's like a petri dish of seeing the health of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm just going to call it right out. You see the health of the meetings these days. And I get them all pumped up for the juice, and they go in there. And first thing to do is get called out for mentioning drugs, you know, or for cussing or something stupid like that. So immediately they're like, well, I was trying to find this juice out there. But the big one that's my hot button is these guys that pipe up immediately and say, well, hold on now. Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't say that we can get your wife back and get your job back and make your health better, you know, but, you know, we're just primary purpose is to get you sober. And I understand that. That's a tradition. We can't be all things to all people.
Right.
But that's not the truth. And ever since I was a kid, I can't stand people not telling the fucking truth. I mean, I've lied in my life like nobody else, right? I'm an actor, and I've done all that stuff.
We lie to ourselves worse than anybody.
But what is the truth? Because I tell my patients, go up to that guy and ask him if he still has the same job that he had when he came into Alcoholics Anonymous. The first thing he's going to say is, well, what fucking job, dude? I was canned from my job because of my drinking. Oh, okay. And do you have a same relationship, or is your relationship better even if you stay with the same person? Oh, my God, it's way better than it was before. Oh, and your health. Your health, too? Yeah, were you on death's doorstep when you walked in here? Are you still like that today? Oh, fuck no, man. I feel great today. Why are we not preaching that?
Yeah.
All these improvements and gifts and freaking rewards of doing this work are possible for anybody out there. And then we're saying, oh, but you can only get this from it. And yet that's not the reality of your story.
Yeah.
Any of us can say from where I started before I did these 12 steps to where I am today, the amount of better with a capital B, that's what I use in my book, better with a capital B and more with a capital M, cannot even be quantified. I can't even put it into statistical terms. It's so much better. Yeah, I'm a completely different person. Prior to coming into recovery, I was just another mindless consumer out there trying to find my way, and I was a spell to the programming that, as a man, just make as much money as possible, make your mark, be famous, prove to others that you were important, as Bill says in the book on page 2. And that was my programming, right? And I was on that path with no mindfulness. I mean, I cared about others and I wanted to help the planet, but I wasn't doing anything. And today, I've forsaken all of that. I'm not interested in, I mean, you know, it's nice to have things, but they're not running my life. That's not the reason why I'm here. My goal today is to be of service and to help as many people as possible. And I found a happiness in that no drug has ever been able to provide me. And see if you agree with this. I've told my patients that when you're working with your newcomer and he gets it, his lights first come on, or after he's done his 5th step and he's calling you to tell you about the juice he's feeling, or he's done a 9th step and he's on fire, right? Or when he's sponsoring his own guy, or when he gets his 1-year chip and he looks at you and points you out in the crowd and says, this man saved my life. Yep. Is that not the best drug on planet Earth?
Absolutely.
And I'll tell my patients it's better than heroin. They go, nothing's better than heroin. Yeah, actually, being of use to others, being godlike in giving. That's
First off, there's not a come down.
No.
So no there is one right off the bat why it's better. There's no crash.
No negative consequences.
Yeah. That high is better. It is, and I that's a tough thing to say. I sit there last night in that yoga studio and listen to this girl sing to me, and while tingles, a physical high coursed through my body that's making my eyes fog up right now to think about it. There's no way I get to have that when I'm doing dope and when I'm out there running on when I'm out there in that spiritual sickness, whatever when I'm controlled by this world. Knocking me around like a pinball. Every time I bounce off the bumper, it shoots me in some unknown direction that I think I'm controlling myself, right? And I'm not. You had said something a minute ago about the things you hear in the meetings, and I still, and if these things didn't stick to me so tight, I wouldn't still remember them, because this is, I came into recovery in 2011 and I bobbled around for 4 years. Before I found what I have today, before I have my current date. And one of the things I remember is a constant being told that whenever I expressed in a meeting that I was feeling really good, somebody would have to tell me, don't get used to it. And hammer down, and crush my spirit on it. Because, then I started going, well, what's the use, right? Why carry on if this is just a temporary feeling that's only going to carry me for a little bit?
That's
and
what
these
I
people
had
are
when I was
telling me
using drugs. It was only temporary, right?
And and they're telling me that in the meeting, and I still remember it. And I remember being crushed. I remember not going back to a meeting particularly because of a guy telling me to not. That's all good and well there, newcomer. I mean, he didn't say that's what he was saying. That's all good and well, newcomer, but don't get used to that pink cloud thing, because your world's going to come to an abrupt end sooner or later. And I'm like, well, fuck this bullshit then, and I actually, something in me made me stop going back to that meeting. And actually almost a healthy reaction now that I look back at it. I'm like, yeah, okay. That message there is not one my soul, my internal, my little kid is not accepting that message. Don't go back there and listen to that bullshit.
Your reaction was right. They don't have what I want.
Yeah.
And aren't we encouraged in the program, if you have what I want, pursue that person? So here's the thing, Bill. Bill is our guy. He's the guy that started this whole deal, right? He's the father of the recovery movement. Him and Dr. Bob. Right. I want to give Dr. Bob his props, because Bill wouldn't be able to do it without Dr. Bob.
Takes two, it's a we.
He was yin and yang. Dr. Bob kept Bill balanced as he was getting a little bipolar about all his excitement to spread this to the world. He has phrases we use and people don't walk. And I take him at his word. Words are important. I'm a writer. I'm also a counselor. As a therapist, they'll tell you words are important. You pay attention to the way people say things. So we have this thing we have a code. Love and tolerance.
Yeah.
That's a code. Code meaning that's the way you behave.
Right.
That's the way you act and comport yourself in life. Look around your meeting and see if you see love and tolerance. That's why we left a meeting here in town and started the Spiritual Underground deal. We have another phrase we use all the time: happy, joyous, and free.
Yep.
Now, this old timer's stomping on you're happy, joyous, and free. What's wrong with his recovery that he would do that to a new guy who's catching fire?
Yeah. Yeah, and that echoes to me every time when I hear some new guy in a meeting doing the same thing, because we get to hear it a lot, right?
I hope you're running right up to that guy and say, don't listen to that other guy.
Yeah, right? If I hear that someplace else, my ears are perked for that, and that's one of the great things about the meetings that I do go to and that I have gravitated to. That crap ain't happening in our group. Mm-mm. We don't step on a newcomer's fire.
Hell no, we applaud it.
You're right. Yeah, we blow on it.
We applaud it right as they're speaking. In fact, it kind of takes them by surprise. They're like, what'd I say?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you got the juice. Hell, just that word sets people off. I had a guy in my group the other day, as a side note. He said, I hate that word juice. And I said, well, that's kind of funny. Because what's your favorite drug? Isn't meth called juice on the street, you dumbass?
Yeah. Last night at that, and we were talking beforehand, and I went to a really juicy yoga workshop last night where the girl had just a ton of energy, and she was using juicy a lot. She was saying that this is a really juicy pose, and she had us doing some stuff where we were swinging our hips around, and she said, now let your hips swing around where you're getting all juicy. Let yourself go, and she even did some things like close your eyes so you're not looking at everybody and you don't nobody seeing you doing that, with our eyes closed. We can kind of let loose a little bit more.
Exactly.
One other thing I remember hearing that stuck with me too was I heard a girl early on talk about having had X amount of months of not smoking. Like this was my 6th month or 5 months or whatever she said that I'm off of cigarettes. And I heard another rebuttal during the meeting that said, this is AA. We don't talk about that in here. And that was another one that just crushed the little kid today. Then I didn't know what I was feeling, right? I didn't know what I was seeing. Today, the little kid rejected that premise too. Here was somebody trying to celebrate something where they have made some progress in improving the quality of their life, and some other asshole in the meeting is going to squash that.
Well, it's the old guard.
I get it.
And like any institution, and hopefully we don't become an institution, Bill Wilson said that would destroy us. He said nobody's in charge of this thing. Yeah. We got to be careful about making it too organized. AA should never be organized, right? That's one of our traditions. The problem with that is, my brain just kind of went blank for a second there. Oh, we say at the beginning of every meeting, we have this thing called burning desire. That's a new tradition. Probably, I don't know if they did it way back in the day, but it seems like it's fairly new. It lasts 30, 40 years, whatever. And we say, if you have any issue that is threatening your recovery or might cause you to take a drink, and I want to repeat the words they say themselves, any issue, and then somebody brings up any issue during the meeting that might directly affect their recovery, because you know what the research tells us today. This surprises people, right? We are not coached as therapists to tell people not to quit smoking or to continue smoking, right? Back in the day, they say, oh, that's too much to stop at once. You just let them smoke, that kind of deal. Actually, the research tells opposite. Because of the trigger of associating alcohol with cigarette use, those people who quit smoking in their early recovery have a much higher rate of long-term recovery than the people who don't.
Yeah.
I get that old thing, and I would never ask my patients. I say, look, if you're not inspired to do it, keep smoking. Whatever's going to help you get through the day, because obviously alcohol isn't going to kill you first. We got to deal with that one thing that's going to kill you first. However, if somebody's inspired and they want to take that path, what's wrong with that guy? That he wants to stomp him.
Yeah.
He's got something going on with him.
Yeah.
Needs to do a little inventory on.
That's one of those collateral benefit things, without really realizing that you're feeling better about yourself because you've quit that, because you've stopped. You feel that's a self-esteem builder, right?
Oh, sure.
We all come in here with our self-esteems in a damn gutter, and you may not really totally tangibly feel that and understand what's going on there, but that's part of this momentum builder thing in recovery. As you get this better tools that are here, that you're getting better faster, it continues that momentum quicker. And so you feel better about yourself because you've done that. So now I'm more engaged in continuing to want to feel better and better and better. And you do just feel better when you stop that shit.
The evidence is right in front of us. Recovery has been evolving for the past 83 years. I mean, the amount of things that you can say in meetings today compared to when I came in. I came in 1983.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
And stuck in 84. And it was mostly take the cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth, shut the fuck up, sit down, and it was abusive. It was abusive. The old timers just wail on you. If you say anything wrong in a meeting, watch out. They'll call you straight out on the carpet. And look, I get that. Some people are institutionalized from prison, and they're hardcore convicts, and they need those limits. There is a place for that for certain people. However, we have a loving program. Love and tolerance is our code. What the fuck? How's that loving and tolerant?
And they need that too.
So we're a work in progress, and we've evolved. And I love when people come along and challenge the status quo. And people get so upset with that, but they don't even think about what that means. Jesus challenged the status quo. That's why they put him to death. Let's not be mistaken about this, okay? He basically said, you guys got it wrong. Everything you think is important isn't. People don't need you, Pharisee. Yeah. They don't need you to have their spirituality, and that directly threatened the existence of the Pharisee. Yeah. And they went to Rome and said, we need to put this motherfucker to death.
A system and institution was threatened.
I'm telling you, all the people, I'm going to get in trouble for this one, but all the people who try to claim Jesus, they would not like him very much if he came today and did the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, your institutions called corporations, they need to go. All your little material shit, give it all away, go serve the poor. Yeah. You need to walk the earth and help others. That's what he did to his disciples. Stop fishing. Come walk with me. We're going to go help people. Yeah. And they're like, how am I supposed to support my family? I can't do this. That's well documented, right? And people are like, oh, yeah, but that's the path I want to follow. But they're not walking it. They're just saying words. Yeah. And words mean nothing. You can claim somebody as a teacher. But if you're not doing what that teacher taught you or what that teacher actually did, you cannot claim that person as a teacher. And we do that as sponsors, and that's our tradition in our program. My sponsor taught me that this is the way we do it, and it's worked for me, and that's what I have to give to you, newcomers, what my sponsor gave me as my teacher. So where do we go from here?
I did have one more thought on the putting stuff down as we're getting, I'm encouraged to put a lot of other things down. I'm encouraged to put my own friends down.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged to not do
Protect
stuff.
Your time.
I actually had to, for a while, stop watching basketball and sports and stuff because it was something that triggered me. That's what I did while I drank. So everybody, encouraged me to put these little things that really weren't killing me down while I got recovered. But they're going to tell you, don't stop smoking. It's you're telling me, you're giving me mixed messages when you're telling me, and in my recovery, what I found is I set a whole bunch of that kind of stuff down, and some of it didn't come back. I stopped a lot of things, and of course, it was a big blessing, right? Now, today, I look back at that being on home incarceration for that first 9 months of my recovery, and not getting to do a lot of the things that I would normally do was actually huge, right? I actually was forced by the state to stop doing lots of things that I would have normally done, activities I would have normally done that would have been associated with my drinking, because by this time, everything was, right? It didn't make any difference walking down the street with a dog. I put beer in a damn coffee cup so nobody knew what I was doing. Everything became a drinking activity, and it took it away from me. And then yet we're going to tell people what not what.
Well, challenge it. That's what I'm going to encourage anybody out there. And if you don't get support from your home group, start a new home group, because there's going to be newcomers out there who are attracted. I mean, look at our group. It's grown by leaps and bounds because we don't have those restrictions of what you can say or can't say. And as I was saying earlier, I'm so glad you brought that up because it reminded me, being on the path of being a change agent, somebody that comes and challenges the status quo. One of our favorite people in recovery who's passed recently is Bob Earl.
Right.
And he took a lot of shit for being a truth teller, right? Truth teller is, I'm going to come in and talk about my experience with smoking. I'm going to come in and talk about my experience with sugar.
Eating,
Yeah, all that stuff. And it was the time period of the 80s, and I remember I was there. I was there when this was happening. All this stuff was coming about the inner child. David Bradshaw was writing his little books about. He had a lot of recovery and
was still struggling.
Adult child alcoholics, all that stuff was going on. And prior to that, if you listen to really old Alcoholics Anonymous tapes, most stories would begin with, I had my first drink at age 16 and here we go. And every time I would hear an old-timer story like that, there was something in my head even back then that would go, well, wait a minute. You were alive for 16 years prior to taking that first drink? I kind of want to hear what made you take that first drink.
Yeah.
Because now we understand alcoholism has been in you since you were born.
Right.
It's your state of mind. It's the way you process, the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you react to the world, just like any other mental illness. If somebody has, please take this to heart, people out there. We have a mental illness. That's how we bill it. Yeah. It's in the psychiatric diagnostic manual. You get a code to bill it by out of the psychiatric diagnostic. But somehow alcoholics aren't mentally ill.
Yeah.
We have something different. So we have a brain disease that's been proven by science. And so just like a schizophrenic, he sees the world differently, causes him to feel and think and process differently, and then he reacts differently. And we go, I think that guy has an issue. Yeah. That's what's wrong with alcoholics and addicts. And they come in here and
we don't tell a schizophrenic if he'd just try harder.
Yeah.
Or if he would just, bear down. Or
get a job.
Yeah.
That's the one the fathers are telling my patients all the time. If you would just get a job, everything would be all right.
Yeah.
But the guy comes in, challenges it, and says, no, actually, why don't you guys bring your teddy bears to group tonight?
Yeah.
And what's that? What
hold
are you carrying a teddy bear in here? What the hell is wrong with you? Well, what's wrong with that? Why is that a threat? Yeah. That's going to threaten our entire movement. That somebody brings a teddy bear to the meeting? What the fuck is wrong with you all?
Somebody brought that up to me not too long ago, that they'd come to the Spiritual Underground one night and everybody had teddy bears. And
we did that one night just to fuck them.
And somebody remembered it from just not too long ago. But that's funny that you brought that up, because somebody brought that up to me not too long ago about, hey, I went to that meeting one night and
man, I'm telling you, if you don't have a teacher that does something every now and then that just makes you stop and go, what the fuck? You really don't have a teacher. Yeah. I remember this college professor was talking about, he was supposed to give this lecture in his class or whatever, and he went in there and he just sat down and he just looked at everybody for 15 minutes straight. He didn't say a word. He just looked at everybody. He just sat there and looked at everybody. And the kids were like thrown off their game because they're ready to take notes, right? And hey, where's the class?
What are we doing?
He said, and then he stopped. He said, now let's talk about what just happened.
Yeah.
That's a teacher. That's somebody who takes you outside your little comfort zone and challenges you. And so when I speak nowadays, I kind of have to give a warning. So, if I do say something that's challenging or upsets you, I got one word for you, pal. Good.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying good is because if nobody ever does that to you, you don't grow.
Right.
So if I do say something, first of all, I can't say anything that upsets you if there's not something to hit. If there's not a bullseye inside of you that's waiting to be hit,
Right,
that
yeah.
means there's an issue you need to look at if you're
Absolutely.
being upset. So I encourage you to run, not walk, to your damn sponsor and do inventory, and you'll find out why this guy said this thing. It's not me saying the thing. There's this leftover deal inside of you that's not been healed yet.
Yeah.
And I'm on that path, man. I don't want part-time recovery. And I love Chase for that. Chase, if you're listening, you're the fucking man. Keep saying that in every meeting. I just don't want to not drink.
Yep.
Every time he says that, my heart goes, boom, yes. I mean, I sit up in my chair when I hear that kind of energy. I just don't want to not drink.
Yeah, he is on fire.
I want to know what's next. How far can we take this? Yeah. And according to our founder, Bill Wilson, the realm of the spiritual is infinite.
Right. And, you know, that's gets
infinite. Think about that term for real quick, just for a second. I know I'm going to stop you, but infinite. Isn't that not juicy to think about?
Yeah.
You mean it's this good now and I can actually find better and more? There's actually infinite. I can never even touch the limits of my contact with my higher power.
Yep.
That's
Limitless.
fucking juice. Yep. And I find so many people settling for that thimbleful. Oh, no, I can't go to that other meeting. They talk about that stuff. No, that juice. No, thank you.
Yep. We set our own limits. We are our own limits. We do that. That's another one of the lies we tell ourselves, that this is only as good as it gets. You had mentioned a couple things that struck me was that Bob, when you brought up Bob Earl, that line I used earlier, that around the nicotine thing about improving the quality of your life in recovery. That's who I got that from. I hear him say that in his
awesome.
talks. That's what.
So he touched your heart.
Right. And hence when he's talking about this other things that, you know, and you can hear in the background of one of my very favorite talks is when he says something about stopping smoking, and you hear all the hecklers out and about.
I don't even know how they invited him
Won't
to
you
speak.
start a Smokers Anonymous? You know, you hear that come out, and he said, I will, let's do that. And so that was really touched me. And, you know, you said something else too about about saying something that's going to make people stop in their tracks, and you say good. You know, Bob Earl gives credit to somebody else when he talks about this. He says it a number of times in his talks. He says, I'm here to comfort the disturbed and to disturb the comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that.
Which any good teacher should do, but unfortunately you turn it into a sideshow act. I've heard people after a meeting go, hey, I like that guy, he was really funny, oh, that guy really entertained me. Well, he helped you to sleep.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being entertained and funny, and sometimes people misunderstand me and they don't laugh at all, because I'm actually a pretty fucking funny guy when I speak. But it's both. It's like, okay, good story, but what did I learn? What did I get out of it? I like to ask my patients that when they come in every now and then. It's like, okay, who went to a meeting yesterday? What'd you learn?
Yeah.
What'd you get that you could take home, say, oh, that's good. And what can you share that might help us in here? And a lot of times they look blankly at me. I'm like, yeah, it was a good meeting. I say, so give me something. I don't really remember. Now, you can't fault them. They're in a recovery, so their brain's not going to remember what the hell anybody talked about.
You know,
was I really there? I don't remember if I was really there. I got my papers signed. Yeah, I think I was there.
The treatment joint I went to had more than just a list paper thing. You had to write on there what your takeaway was.
What?
And
Alcoholics
my teachers
following
actually,
directions? What's that? I'm so confused.
Caused me to do that. And for some reason, I had a thing in me that actually made me do it. There was something in me that I would sit down there and write down at the bottom of it and would write what I heard. And I would also, that means I was paying attention because I needed to put something on the paper. Mm-hmm. So you might as well listen here and find something. Even if you're making shit up, I'm going to write something down, because I didn't want to turn into a blank piece of paper.
The other thing we don't do is when somebody says something that does give us some juice or challenge us, we don't go over there and ask that guy about it.
Yeah, say, hey, man, I heard you say.
Because I try to say to my patients, okay, so that guy said something really great. Did you go talk to him after the meeting? Oh, no, I didn't talk to him.
Yeah.
Dude, he had something for you. That was like a little hint. It was like a little tease.
Yeah, and if it's any kind of
tease, come over here and talk to me, man. I got some shit. You could learn something.
Yeah, and if there was any, if that was a real thing, that guy is going to be actually juiced that you come up and talk to him afterwards and ask him about it, right?
Connection, right?
Yeah, I get that now and again. You know, I guess I have a thing of saying things that people hear, and when somebody comes up to me and says, hey, you said, or, you know, I mean, it's really juicy, and you also get to make some, you know, that's one of the things I like about this podcast, is that I'm finding that not only am I getting to do this other thing, I'm also like getting to connect with this other person across this table, man, and that is really where I'm really finding the juice in this whole thing, is learning these other people and getting this one-on-one connection with somebody and learning their story and getting to know them
It's like
better.
your soul energy flares when we're responding to praise, when we're responding to something positive, just like a flower responding to sunlight and rain. Yeah. So when you have that connection with another person eye to eye, you're really on the same page talking. There's this energy rush, this flare between you, and
that's kind of why I set these things up, these energy tools in the table.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, I was looking at those this morning.
Another thing. So we'll go back to this thing of like protecting these 12 steps, and this idea of infinite, and I like the term in the book. It says it's a limitless load. That I'm only scratching the surface
of a limitless load.
I really like that. And I think that's something there's a little bit of an air of that in a lot of different places. Like there's not enough for everybody. There's this idea that there is some limit. So therefore, I'm not going to share mine because it takes away from what I have. Kind of like the old thing about, lighting a bunch of candles with this candle does not dim the one candle. I can light 1,000,000 candles with one candle and it does not dim my candle.
Which, if you're new to recovery out there, get ready for the paradoxes that are going to spin your head around, because in the realm of the spiritual, they're complete opposite of what they are in the material. So obviously, we have to share it to keep it. And as you give it away, you get more.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with that candle. I'm creating light all over the place, and I'm not dimming my own. My candle still continues to burn brightly. But I think that's a little bit, and that's the same thing. I'm finding that in my life in a material standpoint too, like from a flow standpoint of why doesn't everything in my life work like that? Like money. If I stagnate money and I hold it to myself and I covet it and I hold on to it, well, it really doesn't do anything. Similar to my recovery. If I hold on to my recovery close to my chest and I don't share that and I don't allow that to flow, well, then no more flows in, right? And that's the other thing I found as I'm doing this work, and I've heard it from other people, it's nothing I'm making up, is that as I put down things that no longer serve me, like the Buddha says, then that opens me up to be able to receive new things to come into my life. And the same thing happens with my spirituality. The same thing is happening with my money. With my possessions. When I give things away, I make these Om symbols and I give somebody an Om symbol and then I sell 4, as I open myself for that flow. And man, that's just such a beautiful way to live and start coming around. And I see some other people, that look like maybe there's some choke points, like some blockages in areas of their lives where they're holding tight to something rather than like if they would just freaking let it flow, like the cholesterol in the artery gets cleared out, then we can move forward with our lives and not be jammed up and stuck in this spot. Because man, we've got a really strong recovery circle around us, but we still have people that are sitting in these block states.
Well, I'll add to that this flow thing. One of the greatest gifts of recovery, if not maybe the top one, really, if we're honest with ourselves, is this fellowship that we get to have around us. Bill Wilson says in the book, a host of friends will appear around you.
The fellowship of the Spirit.
Yeah, greatest gift you can get in this life. And so many people out there, we're living in our own little isolated bubbles, right? I got my work self, and then I go home and I isolate at home with my TV and all that stuff. And we're desperately wanting contact, but nobody knows how to do it. So we go on Tinder or Grindr or some stupid social site just so we can hook up and get some human contact with somebody else away from our electronic devices. But in our group, we get to build this unit, this army as it grows, of people who are like-minded and supportive of each other. And it gives you a power to accomplish things you couldn't accomplish on your own. You could not do this. I could not do this book without all of your all support. And that was absolutely correct when you all said that in the podcast recently. But what that does too, and what just happened here, is as you build this army, they feed you back. So then first you're the teacher, and then now your sponsee becomes the teacher. I've not said this to you openly as many times as maybe I should, but there's a lot of changes you've made in your life, and a lot of new information you're getting into. You read a lot, you get on the internet a lot, look at a lot of different videos and podcasts and stuff, and you'll bring stuff to my table, which means like, oh, okay, motherfucker, now the student is teaching me, I need to look at this issue, okay. And that's the way it's meant to work. Right, that's that flow, right? Yeah. Back and forth. And without that, people on the same path, like-minded, and then as they grow, they challenge you to grow, you stagnate. You really do stagnate. You just get set in your ways.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you're bored. I say that to my patients, the funniest thing in the world. Yeah, you know why you're bored? Because you're boring. You are extremely boring, man. You're not doing anything new in your life. If somebody comes to your door, hello, would you like to do this new thing? Hold up, I got my Netflix queue is all for the weekend. I got that all made up. No, thank you.
Yep, that's another Bob Earl concept that was handed to you, where he says, when you bring me something new that is working for you, I instantly reject it.
It's a protection mechanism against my familiar. And, you know, as I go along as a teacher, I want to always make that point. There's nothing wrong with being human. In fact, we build on that in recovery. We talk about we are not saints. Right? This is a program of very flawed people.
God,
We're very flawed and sick people. Yeah, I couldn't have gotten it if I had to be a saint.
And that's one of the things that hung me up. I thought I was shooting for something early in my recovery. There was something I missed that made me think that I was having to shoot for this perfection thing. And that's when I got with you guys. I learned that no, I don't. I can still be me and be flawed.
Actually, we shoot for human, and we shoot for an acceptance of ourselves that is
be silly,
peaceful. Man, it's peaceful to be flawed.
Yeah,
and not have to put on this front like everything's all right on the outside, but inside I'm crumbling.
And this is the nerd one. That this is serious. You know, we got to be serious here. We're talking about recovery. Got to be serious.
Oh my Lord, dude! Don't take yourself too damn seriously. Is the most important piece of advice Bill Wilson ever gave anybody.
Yeah,
too damn seriously. Even the people who might turn into this, oh my, I can't believe they're saying these things. Yeah. Oh, and they're saying them what? Online? Yeah. Oh my God, that's a violation of what? Is it?
Press, radio, and films.
Is it? We're not. Wow. Now we just opened up a can of worms here, man. Carrying the message. We're experiencing an epidemic right now these days, and I think this is another area where we're blind. I just talked about at the beginning of the podcast of our world's dying. Don't kid yourself, folks. This is a limited time off, or we are reaching unsustainable points in so many areas you can't add them up. Now, I don't think it can't be changed, but I think we need to change individually to change it. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit later. But within our particular field of addiction, there is this crazy heroin, and now meth is being mixed in. It's such a progression that we as counselors are sitting there going, well, what the fuck can you do with these people? I had this young kid in my group. He's been using since 11. He stayed off one day. He's been arrested 26 times. I mean, he's like 19.
Yeah,
19 years old, and these people are showing up on our doorstep. And like I say, because it was, you know, the pain pills, and then it went to heroin, and now it's the heroin and meth. A lot of these kids are speedballing. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And how do you turn these people away without trying to incorporate and accommodate them? A kid nowadays, and you throw that blue book at them and say, read the first 164, some of them can't read. And they're all social media. You know, that's how the kids
or even
relate.
They can pass their eyes over the words. They're not able to like bring it in.
I wonder if Bill Wilson today would be on Twitter. I'm just questioning. I don't know. You know, maybe
I got a feeling that Bill Wilson would be using every tool that was available to him.
You gotta wonder. So it's a tool. We're not trying to betray anybody else's anonymity. We're not trying to, and nor are we trying to be a spokesperson to say that I'm the only fucking one that knows this deal. Come to me. You know.
I try to be real clear that this ain't me.
Yeah.
You know, without these tools, I'm not capable of the things that are happening for me.
No.
You know, it's
Plus,
this.
Think
that's
about
doing
that.
it.
You're being inspired to do something that traditions are meant to be guidelines. That's why we don't have rules. People get that very confused about Alcoholics Anonymous or any 12-step fellowship. We have traditions. These are guidelines to follow that are meant to be flexible. They're meant to breathe and go back and forth, and there's a little bit of wiggle room there. And Bill makes this very clear if you read the 12 and 12 about professionalism. And he says how we need social workers and authors and doctors. I mean, you know, people, you write a book. Yeah, well, a person who writes a book gets paid for that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'll ever make enough money to make up for how many hours I put in this, just to be honest with you. The amount of money I personally put into everything for the webpage and everything I've invested on to get this going. There's a lot of capital expenditure to get this back.
Yeah, it's really
but
put
that's
a big
not the
dent
point.
in your hourly
The point
rate.
is that you're being inspired to try something and do something that higher power is saying, why don't you do this? And immediately there's always a critic right there to squash you and say, nah, what? Our buddy Shane went to Florida recently and tried to offer this new deal we're doing about the TSSR meetings and everything. And he's got one guy who got the book and is excited about it. But the majority of them were, one guy said, yeah, people have written books like that before. Yeah, a lot of people have written books like that. I was like, well, okay, so we got this tradition of condemnation prior to investigation. We're encouraged not to condemn things we don't really fucking know what we're talking about. That's people's immediate reaction, and you got to wonder what's driving that. What's making them shut down immediately? Oh, yeah, lots of people have written books. Lots of people have written books.
It's that same door knock, man. When somebody comes
don't
up and says, here's something that may be good for you.
I'll go on record. If there's something else out there, please call me. 12 Steps Spiritual Recovery at gmail.com. Email me if there is something different. But I do believe this is the first time that people in recovery have tried to officially start a meeting to spread the message.
Beyond
to people,
the isms.
Beyond the isms, beyond the labels. You don't have to have a qualifier to come in our room because it's all spiritual.
Yeah, where we just said it's all open. Here, everybody come. Come on, come on. You know, don't have to have any kind of...
Let's throw that in there because people might have not caught that. We didn't talk about that earlier. Spiritual sickness, and I love the way you put it. It just means my spirit, my soul, after all this programming and all the experience has been through just to live on this planet, has just became overtaken and infected and
hijacked.
Ill. It gets eventually to a chronic state where that exposure turns into a real deal malady. I was telling someone the other day after our TSSR meeting, I had to fill out for a medical website to get on their chart so they can send me my bills and all that. And I was filling out the information. Yeah, you do that. It takes about a half hour to put all your damn little boxes. Everything's the right box. Oh, and then you got to open that box, and Kentucky's like way down there and everything. And then I had to prove I wasn't a robot. So I go through that 5 times. I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot. And then I had to fucking answer these questions, and I'm like, how the fuck are y'all coming up with this shit? Did you ever own a car in 1968? Did you ever go to this school? Do you have a student loan? And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. They're trying to establish my identity. I get it. It all makes logical sense to my modern day rational mind. You have to do this to protect my medical records. But 45 minutes later, I'm like, fuck. Yeah. I feel like I need a drink after just doing all that crap. And that's just one experience of my day, not even noteworthy to mention to anybody because I just had to sign up for this website, and we don't realize how that's affecting your spirit. Yeah. Your little child spirit on the picture of this guy in this book who just wants to play and enjoy his life is now crushed because he had to go into the cyber world.
And I'm just trying to check off this box that life is telling me I need to do, and now I got to jump.
I want to get out of here and play. I want to have fun.
I feel that frustration.
It's sunny outside.
It made me think of you the other day. I was on a website doing a similar kind of thing, trying to unwind something about some domain name I'd bought, and I had to go out to this website that was basically based in Asia, and when it had to pick I had to create an account, and when you went to tell you your location, because it was some other place, it wasn't in alphabetical order. So trying to find Indiana in this fucking list of every place in the world, I know it was unreal, and that's what I just want to toss in the towel. I'm just trying. I bought this website, this domain name for this woodworking thing, and I'm just trying to take possession of it fully. I bought it. I paid money for it, and I was like, and I was this close to saying, "Fuck it, I don't need it that bad," But the frustration level rose to that point but today at least I'm able to actually see that for what it is, right? And then I actually have some tools where I can come back down off of it. I don't have to live there, or I don't have to take it, wad it up, stick it in my can, as we say. And pretend it didn't happen and walk on and just have it be one more piece of rotting bullshit
you're awake
in
to
my
it,
thing.
right? You're seeing how it's affecting you, so then you can pick up a tool and take some time to meditate and dump that energy, right? Most
Exactly.
people don't have that. So then I carry that
call
energy.
Somebody and bitch about it, right? I get to unload
I carry
it.
that energy into my I get in my car after work. I carry that energy into traffic, and suddenly I'm yelling and throwing a finger at everybody else. And then I take that energy from that interaction home, and I do that to my family, and then they get infected. Yeah, this is real shit that's happening. Not to mention them again, but I try to be as plugged into the media so I can pick up these little things that really do help me on my journey to make this point to others. But to use them again, Sanjay Gupta's coming up again. He had this special on HBO recently about stress and how our lives were not meant to be like this. Obviously, a lot of us are saying that, but we don't know what to do about it. But what they're doing is they're studying it medically as to how it affects you in terms of longevity.
Yeah, I've seen a little of that too, as unplugged as I am.
What's really interesting, though, is these two researchers have found the most important thing that goes first is as a human living creature gets more and more stress in their life, they become less empathetic. My ability to be concerned about you, my ability to have any even time to listen to your fucking shit. This is my concern for all of us as technology has taken such a hold of us, is that I do have this. People look at you weird like this shit. I mean, you see these movies like The Terminator where it's like robots come take over the world. There's another thing that's coming. There's going to be a shift in our workplace where everything's becoming automated.
Right.
And there's this documentary coming out. Honestly, I like to watch documentaries. I like to learn all this stuff about this is going to massively change our world. People don't even realize what's coming, how they're going to be thrown out of work. What are you going to do then? But one
of the big ones is the driverless cars. When we start taking truck drivers off the road, there's a real easy one to compute pretty
basically
quickly.
Every position that's like service, like making pizzas, that's all going to be automated. All that stuff's going to be gone. So you're going to lose the human touch. And we can all tell, like food that's made by a machine just does not taste as good. I mean, our good friend Nick, who might be listening to this, he'll tell you when you put your love into your food, it has a completely different result.
Absolutely.
Same deal as raising farm animals. When you allow them to free graze versus you're in a little cage, it's going to affect the health of the product. So my concern is that we may lose, if we survive, we may lose what is this thing that we call being human. If my compassion leaves me, if my empathy for others, my ability to have feelings in a corporate world where I have to wear a suit and be like, nope, that's the way it is, because the clause number 5(6)(a)(b) says this is the way we do it. That's where spirituality is our only hope. And people always look at you crazy when you say shit like that. Church. No, not church. Stop it. We have to go deep within and find out what does it mean to be human, and what does it mean for my human existence to be human. Is it just that 30-year job where I get the pension and then I die? Or can I actually develop those sides of me so we don't lose them? And I know there's people out there who are so blind to the way technology is slowly dominating our world, but vigorously and quickly if you look at the whole scheme of time.
Yeah, it is.
The first time Apple comes out with an embedded
it's been
iPhone
really
that
fast.
You can have grafted into your body, where you don't have to carry that fucker around, there's going to be people lining up the door.
Elon Musk was talking about that the other day on a podcast about these things. Like, so now we Google something.
Yeah.
You won't have to Google it before long. It'll be, you just think it and know it. Like even speak other languages.
Well, the problem with that is it's going to be competitive, right? So that guy at work who has that little bionic ability, he's going to get more advanced than I am. He might get promotion. So I'm going to feel this pressure where I need to get this bionic ability. And then we start incorporating robotics into us. And we already are. We have hip replacements. We have all that shit. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
But
physical stuff.
But where's the awareness of how is this going to fundamentally change us as a species?
Yeah.
We're just like, oh, okay, now I got a cell phone I carry everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and we're also wrecking our cars. We're also not talking to our kids.
Yeah.
We're also way too stressed. We can't sleep because we're watching a blue screen too late in the night. That is affecting us as a species. Wake the fuck up, people.
Absolutely. Yeah. More training, programming.
Now, look, I'm going to bring up our friend Joe Rogan, and you're his biggest fan. I think you've listened to maybe every podcast he's ever.
On the back of this.
He's right there staring at me. That's why I got to bring up the Joe Rogan experience. He's looking right at us.
And he really is an inspiration for what I'm doing here today,
He's a warrior, dude. He's on the front lines, but you and I talk about this all the time, that he has bits and pieces of solution, but he doesn't seem to have this whole solution of the spiritual fix because he just hasn't been exposed to a teacher like that. Archery. Okay, so I have the discipline of being in archery. It's a good thing. That is a good thing. Right. That's not going to cure your insides of being programmed for all this stuff. And I love his stuff when he talks about this wasn't the way man was meant to live, to sit all day long and then run to the gym for 1 hour and do your exercise, or to live under fluorescent lights and stare at a computer screen all day. That is just totally fucked up, bizarre.
Yeah. And these little cities we built with these partitions and these cubicle partitions where we live in, it's like these little, it's almost, it's like a little city, it's like the little, when you were a kid, I don't know, did you ever get to go to Safety Town, I think it was, where they got the streets. We had one over here in New Albany, where you had a little streets and all this little neighborhoods and you would ride your tricycle around in it and learn how to navigate in real life. That's awesome. It was like a little play thing.
Man, I missed out. I never had that.
We had that. We had it right over here. It's closed down. And it's really a shame that it's actually not. My kids were actually some of the last ones that I remember before they actually covered it up and buried it was. But it was a fire department local. But that's the way the cubicle city looks to me. That you got to learn to navigate this fake life.
Hey, I'm going to say something here. I would guarantee my paycheck on it that the reason why it no longer exists is that they lost their funding. And they probably lost their funding because we need to give that money to the fucking rich. And this is what's going on in our world. There's politicians who proposed recently giving up funding for the Special Olympics. Now, you got to be a cold, heartless fucking bastard to say, okay, so these handicapped kids, they get them this one time to show their talents and to get some juice.
They're already
and we're going to take their money away.
Yeah.
And, I'm surprised they're pushback. Why is there pushback about that? I don't know why people are so upset. Oh, my Lord, and it's happening right in front of our eyes, and we're so complicit. Yeah. We don't sit there and go, wait a minute, That is not what I agree with.
Yeah.
That is not right. We bitch about it. We throw things at our television set, But here's the point. You can advocate. You can demonstrate. You can go out there. How much does that change, though? How many movements on Washington and demonstrations have we seen? I do think it has
Marches.
an influence. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying people shouldn't do it. But what we're missing is going inside. So getting back to Joe Rogan here, you've got to go back in, man, and do this complete thorough, I'm a CD counselor, so when I say things like this, it helps my patients to pay attention. You need a spiritual enema. It is that chronic. You need something to reach up deep, deep, deep inside you, buddy. We're going to go to that blackest black place you got inside of you. Yep. We're going to pull all that garbage out of your trash can, lay it out on the ground during the fifth step, and we are going to sort through that accumulated wreckage of your past to find out who's you. Where are you in all that?
One of the really good things I like about this device too is this Kindle version is that I can do word searches in that book.
Hell yeah.
So go ahead, but that's what I'm doing. I'm not texting.
So Joe, if you want to have us on our show, please do. Me and Dan will come as a pair, and we'll explain to you how these other things you're doing and talking about, they're like all good, but they're not. They're Band-Aids, man. To really to change our world, a person has to change within. You've got to change your consciousness. And then when you walk the walk, you can transmit something that you didn't have before. Bill Wilson said that in the big book. You cannot transmit something you haven't got.
Right.
Did you find it?
And there's a lot. I don't want to burn a whole lot of time with it. Maybe I'll find it another way because I pulled it another direction earlier. And you probably know what I'm talking about. But all those marches are out there doing this thing where it's trying to do this. And like you said, it's all good and well. And I'm not knocking that, but it's trying to change these things that are out there. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to change all that, and that's not it, man. What I end up coming to the terms of, and you have it in here, is that what I need to do. No, I'm not going to worry about all that crap. I'm going to change myself.
Yes.
I'm going to go inside and make changes. And then what, like I've seen now, the collateral benefit, to continue using that term, of my just immediate perimeter. I mean, and this is where I start feeling real funny about talking about it, but in a short amount of time, I've had a tremendous amount of impact with just in my side, my realm, my perimeter, and it's reaching further, right? And I get to just little old me, this little Dan Reeves from New Albany, Indiana, gets to impact these people in a way that is pretty powerful, and it really touches me that I get to do that. And I will preface it again that is not me, that is because I've done this work. And then so if everybody gets to, like, we all start making that movement to where more and more people are actually coming in here and doing that, that's where real fundamental change will happen. What I fall back to is, that's what Jesus said too, and that's what Buddha said, and that's what all these teachers have said.
All the teachers said that. Go within.
Yep. When are we going to do that?
We're going to have to, otherwise we won't make it.
Right. Yeah. There's going to be a tipping point.
But I don't fault people. I want to be real clear about that. We don't have teachers out there. I mean, very few. I mean, I don't want to discount what people are doing out there. Please don't misunderstand me, but. These quick fix things, like you see the guys on TV, about material prosperity through Jesus and all that kind of jazz. And it's like, okay, so that's one way to use the tools, but you're still not helping people. You're not helping them to see that I'm sick. See, let's use the analogy of the alcoholic, because that's where it all started from. And I always get a kick that God gave this gift to the most worthless people, hated people, scorned people on the planet. Alcoholics and drunks got this gift first.
And really lost causes.
Don't tell me God
why give this gift to them?
Don't tell me God has a sense of humor, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of the pearls before swine in a way. It was this gift thrown amongst these people who shouldn't have really been able to get it.
So there looks like there's no hope in their recovery. They're just gone. Just leave. We don't even want you here anymore. You're never going to change. And they're obsessed. It's all outside. It's your fault, right? If you would just change and not do this to me, I wouldn't drink so much.
If you had my wife, my job, my circumstances in life, if you had lost your leg like I did when I was,
in war. Yeah. You just don't get it, man. That's why I use, right? And then they crash and burn into a treatment center into their first meeting, and they start finding out. No.
Which, by the way, back then they called them asylums.
Yes. If you keep focusing on everyone else, you're making them your higher power, and they're never going to change. And since they're never going to change, you're going to be fucked the rest of your life.
Right.
If it is truly the fault of the judge, the boss, the wife, all of my past, you can't change that. But what you can do is go deep within and deal with this program and the effect it's had on you. What is my truth? What happened to me? That's what I call recovery. It's an adventure. People say, I'm scared, or don't want to do the 4-step. I'm like, oh my God, the 4-step is the best fucking deal in the world. It's like Sherlock Holmes, going into a crime scene, find out what the fuck happened to me. How did I end up here? I doubt there's anybody out there listening who says this is what I envisioned for my life.
Yeah.
And all the tricks or twists and turns I've taken, did I even see any of those coming? And why did I make those decisions? There's actually reasons, the causes and conditions of how I ended up here. And the fact that we have this gift to be able to, okay, so then as I change and I get this deal, I get a sponsee. You're sitting right in front of me. I had no idea we were going to be working together. And God said, okay, help this man. Let's go do this. And because I was there for you, then you were there when your children had to go through some major things.
Absolutely.
And so don't tell me that's not changing the world, because then they go to school and then they're different than they would have been before. And instead of turning into the typical alcoholic family system child who by 13 is smoking pot and already going down the path, you have a chance to change that future, man.
Yep.
And then that changes your community. And then that community changes the bigger picture. And don't tell me that's not the most impactful way to change the world. I mean, I like demonstrations, I like movements, but I get so frustrated because nothing ever fundamentally fucking changes. Yeah. And then these people go home and they vote crazy. They don't vote for their own interests. They know how to manipulate us, man. They know how to manipulate throughout these hot button issues. Oh, we know how to get this guy angry at the voting booth, and so he won't vote for his own financial interests. And by the way, that's our fucking money, folks. Washington treats it like it's theirs. It's not. It's our fucking money, and they're just managers and custodians of it, and they're doing a shit-ass job.
Yeah, that's a real
and then
loose term
we bitch about it, but then we vote the same guys in there.
Managers and custodians that would lead you to believe that they're actually doing something right
Vote the same guys in there because this other guy happened to say fuck at a rally, and now it's on fucking viral video. And, give me a goddamn break, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I will... If there's one person I feel like who is a hero of challenging this today in the media, it's Bill Maher. Bill Maher, on Politically Incorrect, every week challenges this idea, like, why are we allowing these limitations to be placed on us, and why are we not challenged? And then, like I said, some guy says fuck on a viral video, and suddenly it ruins his whole chances. And you say fuck in your own life, and then you go home and watch Kevin Hart say fuck on a fucking comedy show on Netflix.
And you're laughing.
Hypocrites.
Yep.
Or the same deal about, he had an affair with such and such and blah, 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 blah. In France, they don't care about that shit. They care about what kind of politician he is. How's he handling our money? I was driving here to the podcast, and our roads
are awful.
Oh, my God. My suspension took such a battering. I wonder if I'm even going to get home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's our money.
Yeah.
And they're spending it on what?
That's a real tangible one, too. Yeah.
Let's just give the rich a tax cut so we all have crap-ass roads to drive on.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of goddamn sense.
Yeah.
But, people are like, well, but you voted for this, and I agree. Yeah, okay. But then you're going to go drive that crap road and ruin your car. And maybe you get your child hurt. I don't know. Human nature is always going to be baffling, right?
Yeah.
But what's cool about our program is that to a person, and it doesn't matter what kind of lab rat you get when they come in, right? The lab rat could have alcoholism, the lab rat could have heroin addiction, could have a good upbringing, could have a terrible upbringing. We take all these different lab rats, we put them through this scientific method, and I call it a scientific method because it's the same construct.
Yep. We
use the same 12 steps for every one of them. If they have a good sponsor and they do the deal out of the book, the blue book, or maybe this one, they'll get the same result, and then they come out and they're changed forever. Right. And so that's what the scientific method is you learned in high school. People say, well, Alcoholics Anonymous got that spirituality. It can't be proven it works.
Cold.
We'll talk about that in one second. I do want to address that. But when you get that same result, that's where you get evidence. Evidence is all these people are staying sober and they're not drinking and drugging anymore. This cult deal, by the way, I have a few questions I'll ask you on that. Can you leave a cult anytime you want to?
I really don't have a lot of experience with cults, to be honest with you.
You know what a cult is. Can you leave a cult anytime you want to?
I think it's difficult to leave a cult.
Yes, it is. Can you believe anything you want to in a cult?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely fucking not. Can you come and go in a cult anytime you wish?
I don't think you can.
No. Can you set any of your own agenda about what you want to take and leave the rest in the cult?
Yeah,
no. It doesn't fit the definition. It's ignorant.
Yeah. Good point.
We have a program where people can come and go and say, please, if they leave, we don't chase them.
Yep.
It's promotion, not attraction.
We welcome you back if you come back.
And you used to not.
I think if you leave a cult, you're not going to be coming back.
Really, there is no other organization on earth made up of human beings where there's no rules. I always tell my patients, you join the Shriners, they're going to make you wear the funny hat, and then maybe when there's a parade, you got to drive the little car, collect money for the kids' hospitals, right? That's the rules. You got to do that if you're going to be a Shriner. Alcoholics Anonymous has no rules. You can come and roll any way you want to in our program.
Yeah, I do like that. Brings back to another that Scott Lee, that other teacher.
God bless Scott Lee. If you're out there listening, thank you for all the help you gave me.
There are no rules in AA, but here's one of them. This crossed my mind earlier. We absolutely insist upon enjoying life. When you were doing the happy, joyous, and free, and the other things about what we're supposed to get out of this program, those powerful words.
Avoid the deliberate manufacture of misery.
Yeah, right.
And my favorite promise in the entire Blue Book is, we say Blue Book, guys, that's Alcoholics Anonymous textbook. The Big Book is sometimes called. The most satisfying years of your existence lie ahead of you. Now think about that promise for an alcoholic who thinks he's never going to have fun anymore because he's quitting drinking. Yep. The most satisfying years you've ever had on this goddamn planet, you haven't even touched on yet. It's been my experience. Has that been your experience?
Beyond.
Not what you call it satisfying.
It's that limitless load.
Limitless load.
And you walk in and you feel like you're sacrificing everything. That's your focus, is everything you're having to give up, right? And you found, well, for me, I lay this stuff down and find out, just like I said a minute ago about this flow thing, when I put this stuff aside that's not working for me, that is not obviously doing anything to improve the quality of my life, it's actually dragging me down further and further and further, then I open myself up for the universe to pour in the blessings into my life, is what I have today.
And let's for 1 second touch on how wonderful this is that we can sit here and talk about these things and share it with others. I think every human being has these questions. I often wonder, where do they go?
Yeah.
Do you have anybody in your life you can talk to, or are your friends too busy talking about the NCAA March Madness tournament, right?
Yeah, right.
We live in basketball country, guys. You cannot avoid it.
Yep.
Which is fine, but where's the balance? You can talk about things that are going on in your life. And so to have this gift, I remember when you invited us, and thank you for doing that, to go see Jordan Peterson when he was in town. And that man went on a rant. I'm an intelligent guy. He lost me a couple times. He's genius, obviously. But at one point he stopped, and he even recognized the truth of what was happening in the room. He said, let me just say something. They say you can't have a night like this, that people will not come and have serious discussions and want to be challenged on their ideas. And here we have a room of thousands of people are here tonight who want to hear, want to learn, want to grow. And I think that's bigger out there than we know.
Yeah.
But they're being hijacked and subdued by the culture of crap food, and
all these distractions,
crap TV and the movies and celebrity culture and who wore what on the red carpet and all that fucking crap out there, man.
Not to mention the chase for material goods.
We all have these deep-seated questions about, why am I here? I'll read you something in the book. It's the first part of the introduction, and I think this paragraph, I was reading it the other night, it just sums it up so well. All of us are looking for answers. Mm-hmm. Each human soul struggles with questions about the purpose of life, the curious nature of the world which surrounds us, the role of larger forces in mortal affairs, the meaning and point of the individual paths we must walk, and above everything else, why we are here. To be human above all other living creatures is to inwardly contemplate and wonder deeply about these and 1,000 other mysteries of existence. And meanwhile, we're walking around at work. I'm not contemplating any mysteries of existence. I'm waiting on my paycheck, and I know I get off at 5 o'clock, and I've got to go pick up the kids. And that's not human. Human is to actually look up at that starry sky that Bill said in the 4th chapter of the Big Book and wonder, who made all of this?
Yeah.
What's the purpose? Why am I here? That's what recovery is. It puts you in touch with that side of yourself, so that when you go out the door in the morning, your day has a deeper purpose, a deeper meaning, and your role in the bigger picture of life. I never had that before.
Yeah.
I never had that reason to get up and actually be a part of this world and do something. Even if you still have your job, even if you still have your kids to pick up. Things happen on that journey when you're awake that don't happen when you were asleep. Am I right about that?
Exactly, yeah.
You're calling me every day. You're telling me, I had a cool moment today, man. I ran into this guy at the barber shop. And me and the barber had this great talk about what the fuck. And we had the whole place to ourselves.
Every day.
I think that was a coincidence that you all had the whole place to yourself on a Friday.
Yeah. absolutely. He should
And
be.
you
He should
shifted
be
his
stacked
energy.
deep.
You know, you adjusted his energy just a little bit with that one conversation.
Yeah, yeah, it's too cool to be able to be around. I always the number one thing I say is, for the most part, most of my travel in this world, if you ran into me, I had a negative impact on you.
Or
That
for
was most
me,
of
I
my-
had an agenda. I was trying to get the hell to what I was trying to get to. I didn't have time for you.
Right? Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
just like, hey, good to see you. Bye.
Either I
gotta go.
and when I dish you and don't treat you as another one of God's children, kind of thing. if
No,
I
you
don't
were an
do that,
impediment. You were in my way.
Then I am doing I'm doing a disservice to my.
You're
my
in front of me
daughter.
in traffic. You're in my way.
So day by
I don't
day
have time
today,
to
I get to
get to know
actually
you.
turn the channel on that completely, and I actually walk around and have we went to Walmart last night at 9:00 at night to get my daughter a TV. I promised I'd get her a TV.
Which
kids
is the
are sharing.
spiritual mecca of spirituality in America, folks. That'd be Walmart.com.
So people are bumping into each other, right? And you see the stress on people.
Oh,
I
they
remember
immediately
one
expect a
guy in
fight when you bump
particular,
into 'em,
right?
man.
When and you were not actually physically bumping, but you're hitting intersections together, and who gets to go first, kind of shit, And I stop, and I smile. I might smile. My smile's
they
inviting
avoid
to
that.
people,
They
right?
avoid the
But
smile,
last night,
dude.
man, I watched people, and they looked at me, and it was like a second take,
Like, is this guy being an asshole or something?
But I saw some people light up last night. Yeah, there's that instant of if is it disingenuous. What is this dude's up to? That instant guard that you feel. But like I broke through last night a few times. Walking through Walmart, just being happy. And I just picked up my daughter from some police thing toward, that the world again was trying to put her
Systems
in
and
trouble,
institutions.
was trying to get this 13-year-old girl in trouble because she had done this little thing of asking some stranger for a ride home, which, 50, 60 years ago, you should have been
in
able
a
to
smaller country town, too.
Yeah. And
Like,
then-
not even in the big city.
Yeah, they called the police, and the next thing you know, the world is
Barney
in
Fife shows
my
up and says,
perimeter's
citizens arrest, citizens arrest.
my perimeter's in an uproar because of this happening, and that's where this changed world comes into, is that and I had an instant of wanting to be drug into that same energy of that, oh my God, this is a travesty kind of, and want to be mad at her and but I have that together.
Young daughter's first
because
interaction
cops,
with the police. That's
daughter,
big deal.
something's a problem. We got to do some jerking some knots and some tails somehow or another, but then to have that awareness today, and that's one of these
NBD, no big deals.
giant big, and I don't know, this list of miracles that I get to do today that just happen day by day is to not get mad about that and instead go buy her a TV, right? There's a thing in me with want to withhold any promise that I had made to her, but no, we go there and then we go walking through there and get to have these impacts on people by just smiling
And
at
that's
them.
changing the world.
Just by smiling
But
at
how
them.
do you know that one of
Smiling
those...
at them and saying, you go first.
How do you know that one of those guys wasn't on their last tether of the fucking world we have and the fucking humanity, and everybody is such a fucking jerk?
Yeah.
And because they're in that space, they're drawing that energy to them, so they're getting validation. Oh, yeah, you're right, this world, burn it down, man. And then you get the one guy who's like, hey, there's actually still a little bit of hope here.
Yeah.
People care. There's some kindness out there. What I find, Dan, is people are so unhappy and unfunny. Talk about taking things too damn seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I'll be in line and I'll do something goofy because, you just do goofy shit as a human being. You make a mistake or whatever. And I'll be like, and I'll say, what the fuck? And I'll laugh. And then I'll look at the person standing next to you and they'll consciously avoid your eyes.
Yep.
Oh, no, not going to give you that. Not going to smile. Not going to laugh.
Yeah, I tried to pay for something with my Kroger card the other day.
Yeah,
I
and you
handed
make a
them
little
that
joke about it, right?
instead of a credit card,
Oh, well,
and they're
it's
like,
even worse.
and so, but the feeling I got behind me was that I was wasting their time, I should be more
but
efficient.
it's even worse for the person who's caught up in the system institution of working that job, and that's how that steals your soul, because you're sitting there just beep, beep, beep all day fucking long, and you got some jerk off making some joke about whatever. You got time for that shit.
Yeah.
That's where stress changes your ability for empathy.
Yeah.
Or to have human interaction or connection. Hell, I have those days like that. None of us are spiritual giants. Yeah. We are human beings, and I'll have days where I'm like, just get out of my way!
Yep, right. Yeah, I'm certainly not immune
The
to it.
difference, I want to make this very clear to people out there because of this program, the difference is I don't act on it and cause wreckage to others.
Right.
I can be in my own car and rant and rave. I'm not jumping out and grabbing a guy out of his front seat, or I'm not trying to tailgate him at 100 miles an hour. Rarely. It doesn't happen anymore. And it used to happen all the time. But that was me reacting to the
I get to
stresses of
do course
everything I was
corrections.
under. I had no health. I had no sense of self. I had no tools. Toolkit, man. That's what's wrong with this world. Nobody has any tools out there.
Yep.
They're just doing the best they can.
Yep. Yeah, I can freely say that I didn't. That's one of the things is that Bill once again says it's a design for living that works, and I now have a way to operate on this big blue marble, which seems to be working really well for me. And I find that I get to bend people's reality. That cash register guy, man, he looks at me first. There's always that first piece of like, is this dude just a jackass, or is he, is he going to be, that defense that comes up, that wall that comes up immediately. But man, I have a knack at knocking that right down with really quickly.
It's kind of fun when you find the ones that are a little bit more awake to catch it than others. I was in my doctor's office, and you come out and they want to stick you with the bill. And nowadays you got to pay right up front, man. We don't trust you to pay it.
Yeah, and they're waiting for you to be defensive about it when they have to present it to you.
By the way, that's how the world got changed. Some asshole didn't pay his bill, and now we all got to suffer from it. Some asshole used Sudafed to make meth, and now we got to fucking pay with an ID. And here's my life history. So I
can get some cold medicine at the pharmacy.
That's what always happens in this world. But anyway, lady's taking my money and whatever, and she goes, and I gave her something, and I made a mistake. So she goes, "Oh, you're good," and I said, "That's what she said." And she was just dead to it, right? And the lady over here just cracked the fuck up. She just lost it, and she needed that day. I gave her that little bit of light, and so it's fun to see the ones that are more awake to say, here's a little piece of juice.
Yeah.
Plus, there's that little bit of resentment too. And then we get that in our program, that pushback about, well, why are you so damn happy?
Yeah, right.
Well, you have no right. I'm miserable.
What are you smiling about?
I want you to be miserable too.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Was walking through that corporate life that I had before of people going, what are you smiling about?
And speaking of misery,
like I'm freaking happy.
Step back from your life, guys, and watch what you're feeding your soul and your head every day. All these shows that are out there now. We went to the movies last weekend, and the 3 trailers before were like, in a world where everything's going to hell. There's this big and after every freaking trailer, we're literally felt like we just got exploded in the face, right?
Yeah.
And we're walking around thinking that doesn't have any effect on us. All these shows, Game of Thrones just started their final season.
Yeah, I heard a lot
Every
about that.
fucking scene is dark. I'm not hating on it. It's okay to have that as a guilty pleasure, but you have to look at the quantity, man. How much of that am I feeding myself? I'm watching CSI this, CSI that. Darkness everywhere I go. Killers. Why do I need to know that there's 2,500 different ways to kill somebody?
Yeah.
Oh, the best one? Serial killer podcasts.
Yeah.
That fucking cracks the fuck out of me.
Me too, man.
I really want to know what this sick fuck did to this body.
Because that's been a huge revolution for me too, is that no longer, vast majority of what I put into my psyche today, my consciousness, what I feed my brain and my body, my everything is good stuff today. So now when I hear like that, when somebody talks about that, man, I am like my little kid inside rejects that immediately. It's like, no, thank you. You can have it. You want to watch
really
that?
Funny about
not
that?
Me.
I won't say who it was because I don't want to embarrass them. I was out with a lady over the last weekend, and I said, my buddy Dan, he's cut off cable completely, and he's just a lot happier for not needing that constant feed of negativity. And that person reacted so strongly. Well, I just think that's irresponsible. I swear to God, dude, that's how I reacted. That's really how I reacted. I kind of laughed. I said, irresponsible. The motherfucker's happy. He's out there changing the world. What did you do to help change the world while you're reading? Well, I just think you need to be informed and need to know.
Yeah,
I said,
get that.
Dan knows enough.
I get fed that.
I even defended you. I said, he gets enough information because people are more than happy to share with you
right.
what fucking Mueller did today and the fucking whatever, Trump, blah, blah, blah. They're just all too happy to feed you. No matter where you go, you're going to know.
You can't dodge it.
You don't know about the freaking mass killing in New Zealand, you know. But how much do I need to know and how much do I need to be plugged into that? So I have couldn't say that. Well, somebody I work with who is plugged in they get news alerts, they're on the computer constantly, they're on their phone constantly, and they're like trying to feed it to me all the time. And I'll be over there turning thank God for earbuds. I'll be listening to a podcast, one of yours, or some spiritual music or something, or even just some pumping good music
while
I'm doing my paperwork, and occasionally there's a break in the song. And then when I read the song, she's big into the Ted Bundy podcast, and then the body was taken. And I'll hear that and I'm like, and this person, mind you,
she's listening to that out loud, not even earbuds.
She does ask me if it bothers me. I say, you know what, I was put in my earbuds. It's okay. And she's one of the most hyper people I know. She moves so fast that I could look in 2 seconds, she's gone, then she's back, and I'm like, were you ever gone? And she doesn't sleep. She doesn't know how horrible, and she's anxiety ridden. She has none of these tools, And she doesn't think that's having an effect on her to watch all that dark shit.
Yeah.
Now, look, I'm saying again, some of that's okay. You and I sit down once a week when it's on, watch The Walking Dead. That's 1 hour.
Yeah, and it's a little far out there too. You know, I mean, it's what do you call it?
Well, it's not based in reality, right?
Yeah.
There's not gruesome serial killer stuff. But I think that's a need of the human spirit to have that. And people go out and hunt, and they exercise that part. Joe Rogan talks a lot about that primitive
I
part.
do. I like it.
That's the human side of us. That's okay, but people don't think in terms of how much is too much.
Yeah.
Just like if you had a total diet of junk food, when does that begin to affect my body versus just occasionally eating hot fast food?
Yeah. Yeah, finding that balance. I'm still leaning on that, and I think I'm feeling pretty decent about a balance point.
Dude,
now where I can eat some, I can eat some
giant
cake
of balance compared to anybody else I know right now. With that yoga, it has changed your entire world.
It really has. It's far. There was a time when I said probably besides the 12 steps and the actual principles, but I have to put that. Qualifier in there because now I've reconsidered it. But I said at one point, meditation had the biggest impact on my recovery in my life. But meditation is actually one of the words used in the 12 steps, so I can't actually make the exception and say outside of the 12 steps meditation.
Right. But how many
like in
people
the
are
way
actually
you have it here
practicing
now?
that in
Okay,
their
so
recovery?
now the 11th step in the way you've worded it, and other practices, these other things that we do, like my yoga, and my yoga has been fundamentally has revolutionized my life again.
If this is a limitless load, to use Bill's words,
right?
Why would I only limit it to 2 practices?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And this podcast,
and he didn't intend for that.
No, he was new, right?
It's just the words that we're using.
Something we've expanded over the years. Doing this podcast is a form of pursuing higher power.
Yeah.
Because both of us are going to come out of here with higher energy,
Yep.
and I'm going to carry that into traffic as
Yep.
I drive past through thunder traffic,
Yeah.
which was not going by the time I was on my way here, but going home it might be a different story. I'll be a lot more calm and not crazy like some of these other folks.
Yeah. Not to mention the flow. Once again, we're flowing this information out to other people. This juice that you and I have, and people who listen to this, and I get feedback all the time. One of a person who I met early in recovery a few years ago that I really just have a very peripheral touch with has begun dating somebody who is closer to me. And he has been exposed to these podcasts through that. And now he's texting me and stuff, and he's hearing stuff, and he's saying, "Hey man, I heard on your podcast the other day this and this. Where did you get that? Help me with
awesome.
that."
I love
and
that.
yeah, so that message getting to go out there, and that opens up that flow thing again, where that's, to me, that's like where the limitless load actually comes
can
from,
actually
is to
tell.
allow it to flow.
Well,
And when I dam up a river, I stop the flow.
Two things I want to tell you, the compliment to you, because I watch you, dude. And I'm a writer and I'm an actor from past, and so observing human beings is just nature for me. I'm more quiet, actually, surprisingly, than people would think. You have, from the yoga, have gotten a security of self, and you're much more comfortable in your own skin. You inhabit your body a lot more relaxed. And I watch that because I'm kind of keyed up, right? And when you talk and when you're listening, you just you're more stable in your space. You hold the space a lot better than you ever have before. So, and the second point I was going to make is when you were talking about that guy getting excited about, where'd you get that, right? I'm looking for that, man. I want that guy. I want to work with that guy. Because the opposite of that is most of my patients say, I'm just not, I go to this meeting. The guy's saying the same thing this week that he said last week, and you can always tell which guy's going to get his name on the list first.
Yeah.
There's people within our own sphere or support group who you can tell when they're going to speak. Yeah, it's probably not going to be from the heart. It's going to be this head shit, and I'm not going to get anything out of it because you're not challenging yourself. You're not being more authentic.
Yeah.
You're not laying yourself on the line and say, like our good friend Josh did there, and he laid out that topic from his childhood.
Right.
And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Where else could you get away with saying that shit in a meeting, right?
Yeah, right.
Because it's truth, and it makes, as I said, it makes all of our sphincters tighten up. So, crap, he's talking about that stuff I'd like to forget about when I was 13 or when I was 8 or when I was 6 and that thing happened.
Yep.
A man doesn't admit that ever happened to him. And yet every fifth step I've done, and I've done a number of them over the years, you can imagine. And I don't care whether they're a hitman for the Hells Angels, who was one of my sponsees, or whether they're this goody two-shoes from Iowa who never had a bad family and just had the genes for alcoholism. They all have these stories of impactful moments in their journey as a man that they're not telling the truth on. That's the stuff we bury because
Yep.
that's not what man's not
Right.
supposed to be vulnerable. I had a guy in my group recently. He's a 2-tour soldier in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and he's got a terrible speedball problem. And he made a joke about, that Christopher has a big feminine side. And I was like, yeah, you're damn right, I do.
Yeah. So
We all do.
it's actually a compliment.
We all do. It's yin and yang, man. Yeah, the fact you could see that and I'm able to display it and not be all like, I don't have that.
Yeah.
And I get it, right? That programming of soldiers,
Sure.
Billy Badass. I can't afford to show that in war.
Absolutely.
If I show that in war, I die. People die. So I get that. I felt sad for him, though.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's what recovery is that ability to show those sides of you that you were never in touch with before.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
like to go try this. I'd like to maybe try that.
Our friend
Shane and his poetry.
Yeah. Right.
That is some kick-ass shit, dude. The guy was a gang member.
Yeah. Right.
And now he's writing this poetry about spirituality.
Yeah. Yep. And he would profess and when he demonstrates it. I'm not sure how much of it is in fun and how much it's not, but to like be a poet. And I don't know how to just say. He's just not like the best with the English language kind of thing in a written form. He messes up words a lot, and
he wasn't
he
trained.
types in
It's
that. But yet,
education, that's all
still,
that
this
is.
gift of that poetry is a heart thing, right? It don't matter. It's like
You can feel it.
that thing that daggone, and you said that a minute ago, like the guy who's exhibiting the tears in our group at the moment. That he couldn't have done that a month ago. One, you said the other night, you said you couldn't have done that 3 or 4 months ago, and you're right there too. But this dude couldn't do that weeks ago, and he is able to actually let that side of himself out in a public setting and then demonstrate it. Man, that is the power of this stuff, of being able to let that guard down.
The healing that comes to him, Dan, from sharing that one thing.
Yep. Yeah. And, that same thing, like, with Shane's poetry and anybody, I would, maybe in a yoga teacher now, having that, it's the same thing. It's happening all around us. The stuff that's happening with Chase. We've got a million examples we can pull out. Like you said, the scientific experiment, we can pull them all out and we can set them on a table and show you to them and say, look at that guy.
Let me make this brutally clear to the listeners out there. When I came into Alcoholics Anonymous 35 and a half years ago, because I had to have another relapse at 6 months sobriety, so technically I'm already 35 and a half years sober mostly. I'd only had one little weak-ass attempt at the end. My only concerns were, how can I get back to my path of being a big Hollywood star? That was my programming. I had to be this big deal. Went off to New York for school, and now I'm on my way to Hollywood, and it's all about me. And had this cult of personality deal, And today, to say that if somebody had told me, oh, while you're in this treatment center and you're telling yourself you're never going to do these steps, and these steps can kiss my ass, and Alcoholics Anonymous can kiss my ass, I was very judgmental of these freaks. I call them like idiots. I call them like kindergarten idiots. All these little sayings you have, maybe that helps you, but I'm way more involved in that, If you had told me I was going to be writing a book on the steps, talk about an extreme departure from the path I once thought I was.
Yeah.
Now, here's what's the
totally rejecting the premise to writing something that expanded them beyond understanding.
Right. And here's what's the coolest part, though, to me, is that when I say departure, it's actually not. It's a going back to who I really am.
Yeah.
We talk about reclaiming your original self-soul. As a child, I had this deep-seated empathy and compassion for, I'd see stories on the news, and I'd get so upset when I'd see starving kids or I'd see war, and I'd be like, what the fuck? What?
That's not right.
And then I'm getting messages as a man like, well, tough it up and get a gun and, be tough. And I'm like, just something about my spirit just said, that's fucked up. And it took me a long time to find a hero who I could have some faith in and say, oh, well, he's cool, so obviously I'm not the only one. John Lennon says that in his song Imagine. He was my hero. John Lennon is my fucking hero, my inspiration, my role model. He's in the song Imagine, but I'm not the only one who believes this way. And so I had lost that. I had lost that on that path of pursuing the material and all about me culture. And then now I'm able to get back to that. I'm helping people. I'm helping the world to heal. I want to make a difference with that.
Yeah, it's no better thing, man.
There is no better thing, because I don't care what you get materially, you're not going to have that on your deathbed.
Yeah. Ultimately, the end goal of this stuff, is that, it's not, I get to have all this collateral benefit around me. I get to have all that. But really, the juice is in watching these people where you get to hand this over and actually change other people's lives to be able to be that tool in the master's hand.
Out to the guy behind me and now give it back.
Yeah, and it's beyond me. I know it is. It's totally beyond me. Once again, I'm not that is kind of funny. Without these tools, I am not capable of doing that.
I'm not.
But that comes back to that same thing. Actually, that is what I am, right?
Let's talk about
that
these
is
tools
actually what I am.
On a real world level, Dan. You know what I do for a living, and I'm absorbing negative energy all the time. I'm in a frontline chemical dependency group, and every time I tell somebody what I do, they're like, "Oh, God bless you. I don't know how you do that." And I don't know how I fucking do it either. My profession has a 5-year burnout rate, and I'm going into my 15th overall year in the field. And I couldn't do it. I could not do it. This field, this thing is a job without this program.
Right.
That is what I watch my fellow therapists and how they deal with the negativity when they go home. And they're very sick. Some of them are overweight. Some of them have psychological issues, obsessions and whatnot. And then to go home and somehow shed all that negative energy I just absorbed for 6-8 hours. And then here's my second job. Let's open up the computer and write some spiritual stuff. Oh, I'm so spiritual. And plus my human needs, right? I need to get out and get some sunshine. I need to go exercise. I need to, brush my teeth. None of that is capable without the foundation of the 12-step design for living. I want to make that very clear. This is not about Christopher. This is about the 12-step design for living that has helped me to achieve something that is way beyond my capability. Yeah, I couldn't have even written 100 pages, let alone this big-ass phone book. And that's what people call it. It's okay to call it a phone book. I know it's big. By the way, it's now available on Kindle as well.
Yeah, right.
Little side note ad there. Just this past weekend, we got listed on Kindle. You can buy both and get a cheap deal on the Kindle, and that way you have it, your little copy at home, and you can take it on the go. I think it's going to be really hard to work the actual steps out of a Kindle. I think you need this thing open in front of you. Say, okay, what was he saying on this page right here? Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think the Kindle is going to open up for a lot of people that like to just.
I've already started carrying it around. It's actually helped me already. Because just like you said, it's just not convenient for me just to stick this and carry it with me. But I'm like working with guys in it. And I need to, and I'm working it with these guys too. I'm not, we're doing it as a threesome, and nobody's the leader, so to speak. We're doing this together, and so I'm doing the same work they are, which is like, when in my 12-step world with the Alcoholics Anonymous, for the most part, I'm actually just by accident going through with them, but I don't actually do the work with guys. I don't sit down and completely reread the chapter with them. And I'm doing that here. But my point there is that because I have that Kindle version in it, no matter where I'm sitting or parked at the moment when I have some idle time for whatever reason, I have the ability to do my homework assignment between our sessions.
And let's be clear about the videos now, Don. So Dan's holding up his phone, and I know most people know this, but there are actually people who aren't technologically in touch out there. I even have patients. I'll be talking about speakers online, and they're like, what? I'm like, dude, you have a phone. You can stream this shit. Streaming? What's that?
Another service of DTM Enterprises I will provide. You get a hold of me, I will provide you with links of quality speaker tapes and other meditations and other things out of my bookmarked library.
So all you need to do, guys, is have a smartphone. If you have a smartphone that gets on the internet, you download the Kindle app. You don't have to have a Kindle reader.
Right. Yep.
Anything, your computer at home, anything that you can get the Kindle app on, it will read the book on there. Yep. You don't have to actually have an official Kindle reader. Yeah,
you do not have to have the device that's named a Kindle. That's kind of a little bit Kleenex and Coca-Cola nowadays when you say Kindle. It just means a reading.
It's true.
Reading
it's very
app.
true.
Yeah, that's the other, just as a side note there, that hit me the other day about how I'm, Bill also says, don't let the words prejudice you against what things really mean to you. I started using that little bit of a concept when I hear, because I still have a rejection of old programming of something that, like when I hear the word Jesus, I still flinch.
So do I. When I hear God in a meeting, it's
even God.
I always wonder what the newcomer's reaction is. That's where my immediately
go. And I started, all these names are no really different than saying, give me a Kleenex. It's our higher power. It's what we're the actual word I'm using is no more different than whenever I go up and say, can I have a Kleenex? And I hand you a roll of toilet paper. Because I know what you mean.
Bill was a genius, man. If you really read his words and understand what he was meaning, he said it's impossible for any of us to define or comprehend that power, which is God. And I want to repeat that for people out there. Impossible to define or comprehend what that power is God. Now, how many churches you go that people are trying to define God?
Yep.
They're trying to put in a little box. Oh, this is what higher power is. This is what you have to do. These rules. Yep. And people get so hung up on that shit, right?
Yep.
And another way of saying it, the Buddhist saying has always stuck with me ever since Bob Bazant, a great speaker from Minnesota, brought it to my attention. He said, the The teacup is far too large, or the universe, I'm sorry, the universe is far too large to hold in the teacup of your mind.
Yeah, right.
And we try as human beings. We make sense of the things that are beyond our comprehension, and we get hung up on it instead of just feeling it. And that's why I like Darren's take on the spirituality so much. It's that feeling of wholeness, connection, that warm and fuzzy you felt when your mother held you when you were 3 years old and rubbed your back when you fell asleep and sang to you, maybe. Yep. I hope you had that experience. I did. It's fucking awesome.
Yep. And I get to have that experience today.
That's higher power. That's all you need to know.
Like I said, I laid on a yoga mat and had that experience last night when that gal sang to us and played her instrument. You know, I felt that coursing in my up and down my spine. And I get to have it all the time. You know, I bump into people. I went to some, you know, you bump in, I look on Facebook Marketplace, pops up, and a gal over in Louisville is selling crystals, her whole collection. And I thought, why not, you know? And I clicked on her, and she guided me over to her house, and I walked in her place, man, and it was just completely full of crystals. And she said, but you need to see these two. And she went back in some room, and she wouldn't take me in, and she brought these two globes that would look a lot like the two I have here on the table and set them down. And instantly, I felt the energy coming out of those two crystals. She'd had them back in her charging station.
Huh.
And, you know, there's a previous me would have called bullshit on every bit of that, right?
Sure.
I'm open to it today, man. And I was like, oh, my, you have to share that charging station thing with me. I need to see what that is. And she explained it to me, and she's promised me a picture, and that's something I need to, like, remind her that she's going to let me see. But that same tingle that when I had an aunt that did it, you might bring up a memory. I have an aunt that used to do that. She had really long fingernails, and I would lay on the couch and put my head in her lap, and she would run those fingernails up and down my back. And there was just that calming, you know. She could do that the rest of my life, right? You did not want to get up. Well, I bump into people in life today where I have that same kind of energy. You know, I had trouble leaving that girl's crystal place the other day because the energy was just so fantastic in there, and she was a cool spirit. You know, the place smelled like marijuana. You know what I mean? So I had an instant contempt prior to investigation going on, walking in there, you know, but I have the ability today to let that go, and that's her deal. It's not mine, and it doesn't necessarily take away from her. I have some feelings on that core wise, but anyway, it was actually overridden by the power that was happening in there and the energy that was in the room, and I want to stay there. So then when I bump into people, you know, and I get into I get close to people who provide that same kind of energy, I want to stay there, right? Cultivate it and continue to absorb it.
And what's the opposite? The opposite is people whose energy is like nails on a chalkboard,
yeah, right.
not nails across your
I'm out of here. I can't get out of here fast enough. What time is it? Phone ring. Please, something happened that will pull me out of this.
The most profound spiritual teacher I've ever had in my life, named Marianne, used to say, bless them on their way.
Yeah.
Quickly bless them on your way.
Yeah.
And that's, Jesus said that. Jesus has so many tools that people aren't being taught because they're getting caught up in the church rules and stuff. Quickly agree with thine enemies is not being a doormat. Quickly agreeing with thine enemies means you get this fucker out of your face. You don't have to listen to their shit.
Yeah, right.
So if a guy says whatever about politics and it's fucking nuts, say, hey, you know what? You're probably right.
Yeah.
And he's like, yep, good. And he walks on his way. Yeah. And then you don't waste
have
the rest
to
of your day.
engage that because it will wreck you.
Well, I say to my patients, you know, if you're arguing with an idiot, who's the idiot?
Yeah, right.
And we do that, right?
Yep.
I know this guy's a jerk and he's an idiot and he doesn't understand, and I can't stop arguing with him.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It makes me the idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we are at 2 hours and 10 minutes, and that's is a little bit of a system and institution thing that wraps around this because for the time being, and I know this is not a time limit thing, but the size of the audio files hit a certain limit, and I can't upload them all at one piece.
No big deal.
And I know it's someplace around that 2 hour. I can go a little bit more than that, but I think there's also a little bit of a vibe of asking people to absorb more in 2 hours at a time is a bit at the moment too. So I try to stay right around that neighborhood. I don't have any hard and fast rules, but so at the end, man, and it goes so fast, and you get so juiced up sitting here behind the microphone.
This isn't the last one. This is only number 2 on the list.
Right. Yeah. I really love doing this. You know, I have bookings in the future. It's just crazy. You know, I got people booked to come to my little wood shop.
I know. I got to take a number. I can't even get in here. I'm supposed to be a sponsor.
I don't normally do Saturday morning appointments, so you've got a special spot.
I don't normally do Saturday mornings either,
right,
brother.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I've taken to doing is just a quick concluder.
Final word.
And we'll do that, and we will allow you to sign off.
I thought
today.
about this before I came over, and I'm used to being misunderstood. I'm an alcoholic or an addict. You get used to that through your life. We were misfits ever since we were born. People always like, what's wrong with you? You're a little different. I've actually take pride in that today. I don't want to be like everybody else anyway.
It was an impediment for a while, though, because when people didn't misunderstand me, I thought there was something wrong with me.
Oh, sure. As a teenager, you want nothing but fit in. But today I've worked this program, and I'm able to embrace my differences. It's wonderful.
Right.
But one of the ladies who's... she's in recovery in a different fellowship. She's been coming to our TSSR meeting. She's a friend of Darren's. And she said to him after reading my book a while, I thought it was how funny as hell when she said it. Is Christopher really that angry with the world? And, first my first reaction was, well, no, I love people. I'm trying to help them. Why else would I fucking do this if I was an angry man at the world, right? And I don't want to be that guy, right? The old angry man, get off my lawn, you fucking kids.
Yeah.
But I thought about it, and I said, no, I'm not. I'm not angry at the world, but I have a fury against the stubbornness, the idiocy, the damage of the human ego, and how we're all stuck in our little way of this is the only thing, man. This is the only way it can be done, right? And that is not what our country is founded on. Our country is about flaunting convention. We are going to we did that with England. We held our middle finger up and said, fuck you, we're going our own way. And then we lost that over the years. And that's because of our systems and institutions. They've become so embedded that this is the way. And that stifles our change. That stifles our ability to innovate. And it may end up killing us. So if I have an anger or a fury that drives me to complete this big-ass book here, it's that I refuse to accept that this is all there is. I refuse to accept that my life is only going to get this good. I refuse to accept that other people can't change. That's bullshit. I've seen this in Alcoholics Anonymous since I came in these rooms. Revolutionary, night and day, miracle fucking changes. Look around if you haven't seen it. And that's capable. That's possible for all human beings.
Yeah.
So for the big positive to close it all up today, I would say don't give up. The very first part of my book, I have a note to my readers. Say, don't give up on yourself. All of our institutions are out there trying to do that. It'll never work. You're never going to be anything or amount to what you think. Don't do that. People think you're stupid. You're going to fail. Fuck it. Can't put that in the book because I was trying to be nice. But fuck it. Yeah, to get an explicit language thing on Amazon if you fucking put that in the book. Don't let them cause you to give up on yourself.
Yeah, man.
Only you can go back and unwind the damage that has been done to you. Find us, 12-Step Spiritual Recovery at gmail.com, 12stepspiritualrecovery.com, the website. Get the book, 12-Step Spiritual Recovery on Amazon. Get the Kindle. Listen to the podcasts. Get on your path because time is wasting. Time is running out. The hourglass for a lot of us has turned over, and now it's running out.
Yep.
It's not too late. At any time, you can change your path, recreate your entire existence.
Yeah. Cool, Christopher, man. I know with my entire, Bill says it's a complete rearrangement.
Dr. Carl Jung.
Yeah, it completely rearranged my my whole trajectory, and it can yours too. Like I said, no limits. Christopher knocked off some websites there. We'll continue with that a little bit. Spiritualunderground.org is where you can get these show notes and see pictures and links to these podcasts. And there's a contact me on there too, and I will do anything. It reminded me a minute ago as far as my closing statement. I heard another speaker, and like I said, you've heard me say this, that I just pour that stuff into my brain, and I have. And I got a pretty good piece of gray mass up there that remembers things really well today too, so that's another blessing that I would have told you, like my little thing about telling you the excuse that I couldn't that I had trouble, and I think it is an excuse today, that I have trouble with people's names. I think that was a way that kept me blocked from getting to know you. And I see that today when somebody, I can't remember anybody's names. I said, I bet you could remember people's names if you tried. And I've almost got Rain Man abilities to remember people's names today. But it was, and the guys that do this, if they say their first and last names on a speaker tape, I figure I can say it too. It's Bob Darrell, and he reads the thing, and it was Sam Shoemaker, who was actually somebody who was instrumental early on in like the Oxford movement, I think. Yeah. He wrote a poem called "I Stand by the Door."
I've never heard it.
Oh man, it's too cool. And that's what, and he says he stands by the door, and he says, because those who are out there feeling for the doorknob in the darkness, that's why because if he comes in here and he goes way inside the door, he's not there to know when those people are feeling around out there who cannot find the doorknob. And that's kind of the way I feel I connect with that today, is that I try to stand by the door, so that when people are fumbling around for the doorknob, I'm there to grab it and help open up that door so they can come in here and find these tools and have their life changed too. Like I said earlier, as far as that 12-step thing, man, that's just, all of the good things that are happening for me are but a small chunk of what happens when I'm actually available and have the opportunity to give these tools to somebody else and watch their perimeter and their collateral benefit happen around them. That's what this thing is all about. It's change me, and then I can change the world. That may sound arrogant, but I'm watching it happen around me. So we sign off at this podcast the way that you taught me to sign off every time. I'll let you have it.
Love you all. Hope to meet you soon. You are all new friends we just haven't met yet, and
Amen.
We are here to help you in any way that you would like us to. And I will say, peace out.
I've never fit in, no matter what I did, it was never good enough. Always somebody else that shined a little more than me. When someone new comes around, I always let them down. It's almost like a curse. I've got no one to love me just for me. Sometimes I feel like my prayers go unheard. That I only get what I deserve. Nothing more than a cruel mistake. Only sit down here for my heart to break. How could God ever love someone like me? I want to believe life's not as dark as it seems, but it hasn't happened yet. So far the endless night leaves little light for me. I keep moving on, 'cause I know the dawn won't stay away for good. Maybe tomorrow will bring a ray of hope for me. Sometimes I think I could be someone else. Maybe I'm the one doing this to myself. I feel there's something good in me. I just need the faith to see that maybe God can love even someone like me. I know God